And we're off and running. Good morning, everybody. Larry Krueger, Damon, Bruce, 49er Wake Up, episode number 3, presented by Palmetto Superfoods. We'll talk acai bowls, and we're going to talk Niner football as the 49ers beat the New York Giants on Thursday Night Football. And we can dissect it any way you want, but when it was all said and done, 30-12, the 49ers get a win. They roll their record to 3-0, and they get the weekend free after a convincing win against the New York Giants. Good morning, Damon.
Good morning, Larry. It is great to see you, and I love that intro, short and to the point. Here we go, and this is exactly the start to the year that a team with great aspirations needed. A 3-0 start for the 49ers. Relative health seems to be the best way to define that locker room right now. We'll see if there's any ramifications of the uncomfortable position Debo got put in last night. Looks like he hurt his ribs, crunched himself a tiny little bit there. But outside of that, it was a game, Larry, where it's odd. The 49ers didn't look like they had nearly as good of an offensive night as they actually did. And it didn't feel like they had as good of a defensive night as they actually did. They had an incredible defensive night.
Oh, yeah.
They really did. I mean, forget about just holding the Giants to 12 points. What they did last night was hold the New York Giants to 150 total yards. That's the fewest amount of yards in a single game since 2017, Larry. And that game in 2017 was in December, Soldier Field, and it was Jimmy Garoppolo's first start with the 49ers. So it's been a long time since they've held a team down on the mat like they did last night. And they will reap the rewards of an 11-day layoff before they face the Arizona Cardinals. Things have officially started very, very well.
No question about it, Damon. And, when you look at it, too, what we're now starting to see with 3 games in the books, some consistent themes for the 49er defense. And one of them is that they do not allow a lot of rushing yards. The Niners have allowed only 159 rushing yards through 3 weeks. And that's somewhat of a historic number, Damon. You got to go back to 1996 when the Niners allowed 92 rush yards to find a better start through 3 games for the team in that department. So, yeah, defensively, they are stopping the run. I think we saw the impact yesterday of a defensive line that has both Javon Hargrave and Nick Bosa. And you know what's also quietly happening behind the scenes is they're getting some real effectiveness out of Javon Kinlaw. If you looked at, and I talked to Javon in the locker room after the game, if you look at the box score, you're not going to find him in it because he didn't make any tackles. But what he did was pressure the quarterback in the interior on the snaps that he was in there. He absorbs blockers and keeps bodies, offensive linemen from climbing to that second level to pick off a Dre Greenlaw, an Oren Burks, a Fred Warner. And, Burks, Greenlaw, and Warner all were huge last night for the Niners on defense, largely because of guys like Kinlaw.
You give any team's offensive line a long day at the office when you've got Hargrave and Kinlaw on the field together with Nick Bosa. Was there ever an Armstead, Kinlaw, Bosa snap out there? If there was, that should be called the Arby's because that's the meat right there. They have the beef, and that is just
we've got the meats. Yeah,
really, it is. That is thick up front, and then you put Bosa and Drake Jackson around that. It's just, look, every single defensive coordinator really has but one wish. Let me get to the quarterback without throwing a blitz at him. When you can get 4 down defensive linemen putting pressure on a quarterback, it allows whatever your defensive imagination in the secondary with your linebacker play, whatever you want to do back there, you can do back there if you can put pressure on a quarterback with 4 human beings up front, or as we're talking about, a 5-man front that we saw for the first time this season last night. So Steve Wilks dialed up a couple of timely blitzes, but if you like the concept of blitzing and you are a New York Giants fan, last night was the greatest game you're ever going to watch, right? I mean, that was a ridiculous amount of blitzing that the Giants put against Brock Purdy. I saw Jeff Deeney, Pro Football Focus, tweeted this one this morning. The Giants blitzed Brock Purdy on 33 of 39 dropbacks. That's 84%, 84.6. So let's just call it
85%.
Yeah. And if you include the 4 plays that didn't happen because of penalties, they came 37 of 43 times with a blitz on Brock Purdy. That's better than 86%. The NFL average last year for a blitz, an aggressive blitz, is about 31%. They were coming after Brock Purdy all night long. I mean, there was a decision made. We are going to live or die by the blitz, and the blitz did make Purdy uncomfortable. I think we both agree, Larry. There's no reason for us to protect Brock Purdy from any criticism. He deserved some of the criticism that he got early in that game. I thought he just looked off. I mean, there's no other way to say it. He looked off in his early drives, but he stuck with it. Kyle Shanahan stuck with him, never lost confidence in him. And when it was all said and done, an incredibly quiet 300-plus passing yard game for Brock Purdy is what happened. And it happened with a few plays that popped around the line of scrimmage. I mean, Debo running tunnel screens out there and picking up big first downs and momentum swing downs on third down, which the 49ers played well on last night. We've always said third down's a quarterbacking down. And that's when Brock stepped up and made his plays. So 49er fans just have to be very happy with what they saw. And you and I, man, when we were doing a little post game, I slipped into your post game show last night, and we want to welcome everyone here. Larry, look what I'm going to slip in to today's broadcast.
What do you got there?
Oh, look at the acai bowl. Look at how gorgeous that is.
Can you tilt it without turning it over? Ooh.
I can. Well, the thing is, I put it in the freezer overnight, so it's like a brick right now. It's frozen solid.
Oh, but it still looks great.
How delicious that looks.
Bananas and strawberries and acai and coconut. And,
acai, coconut. There's so much going on there, Larry. You go ahead.
It's delicious.
Hit him with the promo code, Larry. Hit him with
the promo code. It is fantastic. All right.
DB.
Promo code is coming. Promo code is coming. Promo code has arrived. Let me get rid of this comment.
DBLK15 gets you 15% off an order at Palmetto Superfoods, locations throughout the Bay Area. More coming. They are absolutely delicious. I didn't stop with one, though, Larry. I got another one. This is called like the Caribbean, and this has got little I don't even know what the hell's in this one. I haven't even tried it yet, but it just looks so good. I had to order it too. These are delicious, refreshing, absolutely good for you.
Get your morning going in the right direction.
There you go. With
no more bacon and eggs, no more greasy spoon. Greasy spoon, get the hell out of here. It's time for the acai bowl and some yoga pants.
You won't have to feel nearly as bad about that greasy spoon that you had on Saturday or Sunday if you start your week with one of those. And look at us wrapping up our week here on a Friday on 49ers Wake Up. But as I was saying, Larry, someone said that's diabetes in a cup. No, it's not. This is not a whole bunch of joke sugar. This is natural. This is honey.
Sweetened by the fruit itself.
Sweetened by agave. Things that are good for you. Don't take my word for it. Look at it this way. I'm a fat boy. I don't care if this thing is good for you or not. Is it delicious is pretty much the only box I'm looking to check when I eat anything. This thing is delicious. It just also happens to be healthy and good for you. So go
get yourself one for sure. Everybody needs to try it. There's those things in life, Damon, that if you try it, you'll like it. This is one of them. If you try this, you will like it. You will come back. 100%. It's as simple as that.
100%. It's sort of like you and I talking about the 49ers. Just try it once. You'll be back. It's good to have you here. Anyways, I was doing a post-game show, had a great audience in there last night, Larry. Thank you again for helping me build this channel. It's really happening. Some great things, great numbers for me. The biggest watched week in my channel's history this past week. Thanks to you. Thanks to an epic San Francisco Giants rant, which we'll save that for the end. But you and I were doing our post-game shows last night. When I wrapped up with mine, I hopped into yours, and I thought we had a Bay Area baller and John Dickinson.
The great John Dickinson.
Dude, JD dropped what I think is without a doubt, not just the stat of the night, but the stat of the year so far for the 49ers from last
Which one's that?
game. 310 passing yards for Brock Purdy. 215 of those passing yards were yards after the catch. Brock only put the ball in the air for 95 yards last night. Everything else was done on the legs of Debo and Kittle and Ronnie Bell, who had himself his first real good game in a 49ers uniform. Christian McCaffrey just continues to be one of the 10 best football players in this league, regardless of position. He is so special. He is so critical to what the Niners' plans are this year. That's an incredible number, though. Of 310 passing yards, 215 come after the catch. Larry, we talked about the stuff that makes Kyle Shanahan like touch himself at night. That is a number. That is a number that Kyle Shanahan fantasizes about. That's a fantasy.
Well, let's talk about this for a second, because let's talk about how this got to this point. The Giants lost week 1 to the Cowboys 40-0. They were trailing 20-0 to the Cardinals in week 2 at halftime. And the Giants last year were 13th in the NFL in sacks, and they had 0 sacks in the first 2 games. So what did Martindale, their defensive coordinator, do at halftime of the Arizona game in week 2? He just said, "I'm bringing the house, baby. If we're going down, we're going to burn this thing down. I'm going to blitz, and blitz some more." And that is really what led to their comeback against the Arizona Cardinals in week 2. They came back in that game. They outscored the Cardinals in the second half like 28-3, and they wound up winning the game. And so when I'm watching that, I'm saying to myself, guess what? They're bringing the blitz on Brock Purdy, because Brock Purdy's a young quarterback. He's not Stafford. He's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not one of these guys that if you blitz him, he's definitely going to burn you. He's a young quarterback. So I knew they were going to bring the blitz, and I knew this was going to be kind of one of these, kind of a muddy game, and I'm sure Kyle Shanahan knew it as well. And a lot of people, the Giants blitzed the Niners, as you said, 33 of 39 dropbacks. That was 85% of the dropbacks on the night. They brought some form of a blitz. Now, I went into the locker room after the game and talked to some of the O-linemen. I got the chance to talk one-on-one with Colton McKivitz. I got the chance to hear Jake Brendel and Aaron Banks talk a little bit about this. Banks gave up his first sack of the year, by the way. But they knew that not only were the Giants coming with blitzes, Damon, that they were going to come with well-timed and exotic blitzes from all different directions, using all different kinds of players. Safety blitzes, corner blitzes, outside linebackers coming off the edge. And sure enough, it was a well-coordinated blitz. But credit Jake Brendel. What's that?
If there's a gap, they're going to shoot it.
Exactly. And credit Jake Brendel, who did a phenomenal job. Brendel is a really intelligent guy. He had to be on his mental, highest point to recognize all these blitzes, know which direction to slide the line, make all the proper calls. Brock Purdy last night against the blitz, 20 of 31 for 247 yards and 2 touchdowns. As Dave Lombardi tweeted out, this was a masterclass on how to handle the blitz. In fact, Purdy averaged 2.42 seconds, which was his average snap to release last night. That's the 3rd fastest time in the NFL this season, and only behind Tua and Burrow. And the Giants blitzed at this crazy rate, and it just demanded that the ball get out quick, and Purdy did it very efficiently. Now, you can criticize him in the first half, and there were some really bad throws. I thought there was an interception that he threw that was going to be an interception that George Kittle batted down early in the game. The end zone pass that he threw to Debo on the Niners sideline in the first half was a ball that just floated, and anybody could have picked it off. Luckily, he got away with that. But what did Brock do? The Niners were 7 of 10 on 3rd down conversions in the first half, and built themselves an 11-point lead. They were up 17-6 going into the third quarter and going into halftime. So I know, and then Purdy came out in the second half, and he was really good in the second half. And a lot of people were like, "Well, Brock Purdy, Brock Purdy in the second half last night, 11 of 14 for 153 yards and a touchdown. And the ball that he threw to Debo to cap the night was a flat out dime." So, we can be critical of Brock Purdy, and some of it is absolutely justified. But when all the smoke is cleared, Damon, the Niners have scored 30 or more in 6 consecutive regular season games. That's a new franchise record. We just saw Purdy have his bad game, still threw for 300 plus yards and put up 30 points, and the Niners won going away. So the Niners are now 3-0. They're atop the NFC, and they get out of week 3 relatively healthy compared to some of the other teams in the league. And I think if you're a 49er fan this morning, you got to feel really, really good. And there were a lot of people on Twitter, especially, and I didn't see it in real time, but I saw it after the game, going back through the Niner tweets and all the stuff related to the game. There were people burying Brock Purdy. He's not good enough, this and that. It wasn't his masterpiece, but if you get blitzed as much as he got blitzed as a young player, a lot of times the reason D coordinators do this, Damon, is to get in that quarterback's head, make him rushed and hurried, and then hopefully he'll start making mistakes and hand you the football in turnovers. It did not happen. The Niners won the turnover battle. They didn't turn it over at all. They controlled the ball almost 2-1 time of possession. They almost had 3 times as many yards as the Giants and 2.5 times their points. So, Brock Purdy's not perfect, but guess what? Brock Purdy is still undefeated in games that he's started and finished in his career. That's pretty amazing.
One of the things that I thought about is, look, there is a cottage industry out there online, on YouTube, on Twitter, where people have decided to set up shop trying to sell you for their living what Brock Purdy is not. And obviously, there's some people who've had success with this, and God bless, go with God. I don't even want to relitigate this on a weekly basis.
We won't. We don't need to.
We're not gonna. But there is a cottage industry trying to explain to you what Brock Purdy isn't. Now, there's also a cottage industry of people blowing smoke up your rear end, trying to pretend some things are there. And you and I are not those people. We are not going to sell you greatness when it's not in front of us. And last night was not a great game out of Brock Purdy. It was good. It was efficient. But what we saw
was really good in the second half.
As always, the star of the show for Kyle Shanahan is the system, is the game plan. And the game plan, although it sputtered at time, when it was done, it was pretty much executed perfectly, considering they faced a blitz rate that you don't even face playing your drunk buddy on a Saturday night in a game of Madden.
Exactly.
It was a all-out assault of go get him no matter what, and Purdy survived that. What I also want to bring up, and I thought of this last night, again, we're really good post-game. You give us, Larry, a night to sleep on something, that's when we get dangerous, and it's great to have everybody here for 49ers Wake Up. When I was a kid, the 49ers as a franchise defined what it was to have a franchise quarterback. I was born in 1975. I am, 8, 9, 10 years old in the dawn of the great Montana era that then becomes the Steve Young era. And as someone who grew up a Bears fan, I couldn't help but be wildly jealous of this concept of you mean you're allowed 2 great quarterbacks in your lifetime? I haven't even seen one yet as a Bears fan. I was like, but we got Walter Payton. That's fun. And it was fun. He was great. But
sweetness.
He was special, Larry. But here's the deal. And this is the point. I sort of went off kilter there for a minute. The franchise that defined the concept of franchise quarterback, with 2 Hall of Fame greatest to ever do it franchise quarterbacks, have never ever put 30 points in a row up in 6 consecutive games.
Wow, that's amazing.
But this kid has in this system with this coach. And for those who have wanted to illuminate what isn't around the 49ers, here's what is. More production than the greatest memory your daddy has. I mean, that's the truth. It's the honest to God's truth in a league that is officially harder to be successful in than back in the day. Well, I don't know. There's an argument to be made there, but just everyone's got a ridiculous amount of talent. Everyone's got a good coach. Everyone's got a coordinator who's an inch away from becoming a head coach themselves. There's talent dripping in this league. The difference between the best team in football and the worst team in football is this. Where in Major League Baseball, it's this. In the NBA, it's this. In hockey, it's this. There is so little difference between the haves and the have-nots in this league. So to sustain anything for like a half a year, an 8-10 game run is really amazing. It really is. And what the 49ers have produced since Brock Purdy started being under center for Kyle Shanahan is nothing short of the most productive, successful scoring offense the franchise who gave you Jerry Rice, who gave you Joe Montana, who gave you Steve Young, who gave you Jonathan Taylor and Roger Craig in a list of the all-timers. They never did that. These guys are doing that.
Well, okay. In fairness to the old school guys, the several rules have changed through the years to make the league more offensive. We have to at least mention that. We have to mention that.
I reeled it in. Did you feel me there? As soon as I said it, I reeled it in.
Well, I mean, I'm picturing Steve Young watching this, screaming, going, Damon! No, but you're right. I mean, you're right. The league has changed, though, and it is more an offensive league. But I think this morning I'm just here to push back on. I know there'll be people out there who'll be like, Brock Purdy was bad last night and they won anyway. No, he was not bad. That's an idiot take. The truth is that Brock Purdy did an incredible job of protecting the football against a defense that blitzed at a historically high rate, which they had to prepare for on what, 1 day of prep, 2 days of prep. I mean, they only had 1 day of practice and they didn't have any practice. It was just a walkthrough. They had a series of a couple walkthroughs, some meetings. And other than that, they rested up and got ready for Martindale, who's a veteran defensive coordinator, who was desperate and brought the house in every direction possible. And I'll credit Martindale, man. I don't know that he had 1 and 2 blitzes that were alike. I mean, if you go, I went and watched I got the NFL Plus, so I came home last night and, got home at 1 a.m. and watched the condensed version or whatever, or got home around midnight, watched it till 1 a.m. You can get every play of the game, and I'm sitting there pre-snap pausing this thing going, oh my God, this guy's bringing a different blitz. Then I'm writing what that blitz is down. Then all of a sudden it's go to the next play. Oh my God, this guy's bringing a different angle on the blitz. And they must have brought 10 to 12 different looks. It was probably more like 15 or 20, but I counted 10 or 12 through the first 3 quarters, and it was an amazing thing. So the Brock Purdy played bad. No, Brock Purdy didn't turn the football over against a dizzying array of different blitzes on a short week with very little time to prepare. In what is in one of his early starts of his career. I was very, very impressed. And when you go and compare that to what we've seen at quarterback, here's one on the chat from Akshay. Says Purdy is light years ahead of Jimmy when it comes to processing and poise. Couldn't agree more. How about this one from the Smitty? Purdy already reads the defense well. Get him better ready blitzes, and he'll take the practice. There's no question that it wasn't a masterpiece, and he definitely had some throws that could have been picked, but they weren't picked. And it's like you can sit there, the coulda, woulda, shoulda. At the end of the day, you put up 30 and won again. So I feel great about the situation they're in right now. They did this all. We didn't even mention this yet. They did this all without the great Brandon Ayuk, and Deebo Samuel, CMC, George Kittle, Juwan Jennings, Ronnie Bell. They all played pretty damn well. It was an amazing. If you really think about it, it was an impressive win when you consider all the factors from last night.
And when you consider all the factors from last night in the absence of Ayuk and the struggle of just finding rhythm of Purdy, I thought George Kittle played one of his best games in a 49ers uniform last night. He was really good. He didn't get into the end zone, but God, he was there moving the chains. He was Mr. Third Down. He was Mr. Safety Valve. And Kittle just had an exemplary performance last night, all things considered. And look, it was a good game, Larry. It's also a game that come Monday, we're never going to talk about again. You know what I mean? It's just handling the business of the Thursday night game. Get out of it. There's no reason to sit around and nitpick what was great or not great about a Thursday night performance, because the whole thing gets tossed around in the hopper and you just, good luck with that. Thursday night football is good luck with that. There's enough chaos surrounding how you prepare to this game that you should expect the unexpected. And Thursday is a night where bad football happens, where funny things happen. So just survive a Thursday night game. They did. You mentioned on the post-game show, your post-game show last night, Larry, that, it's really good to get this out of the way early. And they have. But they have another one coming. They're playing the late game on Thanksgiving. So that means you and I have a busy Friday morning, the day after Thanksgiving. Don't eat too much turkey.
Black Friday, were you saying we're not going to be sleeping in line at Best Buy, hoping to save $150 off a flat screen and maybe fighting in the parking lot?
I mean, how many inches are we talking? Are we talking 77 inches? Because I will knock a grandmother out for 77 inches of television.
Get out of the way, Grandma! I'm getting my Samsung.
Look, it was a game where the 49ers did what they needed to do to beat a team that isn't very good, but probably played better than a lot of people expected. Here's the thing, Brian Daboll, at least your team's still physical. That there's no doubt that they might not be, carving knife sharp yet, but the Giants remain physical. Micah McFadden, dude, I'm telling you, he's the reason why Indiana actually had a good year a couple of years ago. He's a Hoosier, by the way, and he was the best defensive player on the field last night for the Giants. He might have been the best defensive player on the field, just on the field last night. He was fantastic. He was everywhere.
There's one controversy coming out of New York is that Mike Kafka, who's also a Chicago guy, he went to Northwestern. Mm-hmm. You remember Kafka, the former Northwestern quarterback. He's the Giants OC, and I think he's a good young OC. But there's a little controversy that there's people suggesting, and everything's very covert, nobody's said anything direct, but that Brian Daboll may have been calling the plays offensively, not just last night, but also in the second half against the Cardinals, and taking some of that play calling responsibility off of Kafka, just because the Giants had struggled, and Daboll himself obviously is an offensive coach who's had a lot of success. But that's kind of the controversy coming out of New York. But I mean, on paper, the Niners should have won this game. There was no Saquon Barkley. The Niners have a great D-line. The New York Giants have a rookie center. They had the whole left side of their offensive line dinged up. And major advantage Niners. And then, the Niners have big time receivers, even though Ayuk didn't go. The Giants have a pair of rookie corners in Deonte Banks and Trey Hawkins III. So the Niners should have won. But come on. I mean, it's the way it's sometimes the most difficult thing to do in sports is to do what is expected of you.
Oh, yeah.
The burden of expectations has been, overcome a lot of teams through the years. We've seen it in every sport imaginable and every way imaginable. So they're all great wins. And I thought, Kyle Shanahan looked very happy. He pulled up to Deebo's locker in the post game to check on his star receiver and his physical condition. And people were bashing Kyle, by the way, because he didn't run out to the field when Deebo lost his wind. I was watching that play on the binoculars and from the 8th floor of the Sky Tower. So I'm honed in right on Deebo when he makes that catch. And it was obvious to me. He had the ball up by his solar plexus and he was holding it like a runner. And then somebody hit him from behind and landed their full weight on top of him. So he's got the weight of another person, and then he's landing on the ball right on his solar plexus. Well, anybody who's ever played football, who's ever been hit right there, knows that's not That's not like, oh my God, he's totally destroyed. It's like, hey, he lost his air. So instead of running out there like a Pop Warner coach, Kyle Shanahan lets the medical people go do what they're paid to do, and he's looking at his sheet. And then I'm reading on Twitter last night all these people ripping Shanahan for not showing enough, worry about Debo. And it's like, then I see Debo in the locker room, laughing it up with Shanahan, and he was checking in with him before, at Debo's locker, in the post game to just make sure he was okay and talk about a few things. And these guys are tight. These guys are good. I mean, it's amazing how the reality of the reality never finds its way to the reality of the social media discussion.
Well, again, it's agendas. If you're criticizing a head football coach for, look at it this way. You got trainers to go worry about that injured player. I want you worried about the next play. I want you in strategy. I'm thinking about the next play mode. And I'm not trying to say that we don't care about people, but you got a job to do and you're at work, and we'll worry about compassion a little bit later on. Half the people watching football shouldn't be watching football. You're all pussies. Love Damon.
Well, and if this were a war and this was like a trench war, the general doesn't run out, and there's medics that run out.
Exactly.
It's like, come on. I mean, and to criticize Shanahan for that is it just kind of shows people are grasping at straws. Exactly. The guy put together a really good game plan. He found a way to utilize. And first, the other thing we haven't even mentioned yet. The Niners, not only did they have to deal with a defensive coordinator who you knew was going to bring the house and did, but without Ayuk, they had to change up their formations. There was a ton of 2 tight end looks last night, and yet, they're still trying to do a lot of the same things that they normally do, but they're trying to do it out of a 2 tight end look. Sometimes they're putting Kittle in the backfield as a fullback. I mean, Shanahan worked extra hard, I'm sure, on trying to make this, create the eye candy, create the illusion of change, while at the same time doing on a short week what his team is comfortable doing and used to doing. So I thought it was, in some ways, when you really think about all the factors, it was one of the better offensive weeks for Kyle Shanahan. And to criticize him on that for not running out to see Debo is like, what? This isn't Pop Warner football.
Here's the way you got to think about that Debo injury. Thank goodness he didn't crack a rib. Thank goodness there's no problem with any cartilage in between the ribs. And that's it, folks. This, we're not out. This isn't about handing out orange slices at halftime. This is professional football. So enough of that. The system is the thing, Larry. I mean, I just kept on thinking that the system is the thing more than anything else, more than any player in this system. The system is the star of the system, and the system can produce, if not look, it was not a great red zone night for the 49ers. I think Brandon Ayuk being out of the game has a little to do with that. There's also some decisions that Kyle would like back, I'm sure. 2 touchdowns and 3 field goals on 5 red zone trips. So at least you are scoring, and all those field goals that felt like you're settling for the lesser of what you wanted, it all adds up. And Kyle was a little bit conservative last night. I think it was a night to be a little bit conservative based on the game that you were in and who you were playing. And Saquon Barkley's not there, which means any criticism of Mike Kafka feels a little mistimed, because of course the Giants aren't operating right now because the most important player in their system is out of the system. And when Kyle's got a healthy system, they just produce. They'd produce, again, the 30 points in a row for a franchise record, 6 consecutive regular season games. Last night, Larry, my question was, is Kyle going to come out and find 6 on the opening drive yet again? He didn't. He had to settle for a field goal after he ran 15 plays. The first half scoring drives were plays of 15 plays, 11 plays, 11 more plays in the third drive. And then the field goal in the third quarter to push the lead back to 8. That was an 11-play drive. The field goal to go back up 11 points. That was an 8-play drive. Kyle just understands when they can control the tempo of the game. And I've said this and people interpreted it as an insult because people think that the concept of front runner is an insult. I don't mean front runner as anything other than describing a situation. When Kyle has a lead and a clock and a running game going, he's fantastic. He's really good. He's great at playing with a lead. And now this leads to the frustration. Well, what about the leads that they gave up in the NFC Championship game in the Super Bowl? Hey, 2 games which were not ideal times to blow leads. But normally when Kyle has a lead, he sits on it and he gets a little conservative. And it was I just thought it was a night full of very good decisions, if not a great passing attack. It was all good. It was a good night of football. And I don't know if you get greatness on a Thursday night on a short week. So, take good when it's offered. And the 49ers were good last night. And there's a lot that they can improve on. I'll tell you the thing that I'm concerned about a little bit. Brock has got the big hands. He has fumbled a quarterback center snap exchange 2 weeks in a row in this could change the game territory. That's got to stop. I mean, we can say all the nice things about Brock Purdy we want to. You got to handle that snap, son. That can't happen again. It shouldn't happen again this year. It really shouldn't. I can't remember a single blown center snap exchange with, a lot of great quarterbacks. I don't remember one, much less back-to-back weeks. And
there's no question, but he fell on it. Or the Niners recovered it. Sure. Here's the other thing. The Niners have won 13 straight regular season games. In none of those games, they've won 13 straight regular season games with no more than 1 turnover in any of the 13 games. That is the longest such streak in NFL history. So they've done a really good job of taking care of the football. As far as the plan, I thought the plan was even better than the execution. And we talked about it in the pregame, and heck, we talked about it in the days leading up to the game. There were lots of boxes that we wanted to see checked, right? And I thought almost all of them were checked. Like, for example, you always want to maintain some offensive balance. The Niners did. 37 pass attempts, 39 runs. That's fantastic balance. You wanted to see McCaffrey, but you also wanted to see his load lessened a little bit, and you wanted to see the introduction of the other backs, and you wanted to see other guys run the ball. Well, the combination of Debo and Juszczyk and Mason and Mitchell combined for, 16 runs? So you had 16 runs for those guys, 18 runs for CMC. I think that's great. That's exactly kind of what I wanted to see. The other thing that I thought was really cool, really important, and we talked about this a lot leading in, if you do shorten the game by running the heck out of the football, and the Giants had not stopped the run worth a damn in the first 2 weeks of the year. Teams had averaged almost 140 yards on the ground against them in the first 2 weeks. So you knew the Niners knew they wanted to run it. But when you run it that much, when you run it almost 40 times a game, you're shortening the game a little bit. You're limiting. You look how you mentioned it already, how long these drives were. You're limiting the number of drives you're going to have in the game. So what does that put a real, extra importance on? Taking care of the football. Because if you have a 15-play drive and you fumble, now you've wasted clock time and you didn't get points. So, they took care of the football. They balanced the run pass. They got running backs not named CMC several runs in a good percentage. They scored 30 without what I think is their number one receiver in Brandon Ayuk, and with Kittle dinged up. They introduced Ronnie Bell. He got into the end zone. It was a very impressive performance. Juwan Jennings, I thought Jennings was going to go off. I thought Jennings was going to have 9-10 catches, but they threw him 3 balls. He caught 2. So, there was a lot of good things. And then we're 38 minutes, almost 40 minutes into the show. We haven't even mentioned that Jake Moody, the rookie kicker, is now 9 for 9 on field goal attempts in the regular season and 9 for 9 on PATs. He's the first kicker in NFL history to hit 3 field goals and 3 PATs in each of his first 3 career games. And I talked to him in the locker room afterwards, and he's getting comfortable. So, I mean, there were a lot of good things that happened last night. Let's just say it that way.
No doubt. A lot of good things. The system worked. And this is a talented football team. And on weeks where you don't have an awful lot of time to get granular in your game prep, you're going to have to lean on your talent to make plays. And Christian McCaffrey, that guy makes plays. Deebo Samuel, that guy makes plays. These are two unbelievably difficult to take down, just all kinds of scrapple to them every single play that they run football players. And then you factor in George Kittle, who can, sort of disappear on a weekly basis at times, or, he gets buried with some blocking assignments on the line of scrimmage. So he's not putting up that big fantasy game.
He's been hurt too. He's not 100%.
Well, look, it's his 7th year in the league. He's probably never going to be 100% a single day of his life going forward after 7 years in the NFL.
But he's out there.
He is. He's out there. And last night, again, it was one of his better games in a long time that I can remember. Bosa had his first sack of the season, nearly a safety. Larry, look, I understand the rule and your stopped player forward momentum. There should be an exception on the goal line. If you can pick up a quarterback and put him in the end zone, that should be a safety. That should have been a safety.
It sure looked like a safety. Wow. I mean, now I think in 1978 that's a safety.
Oh, 100% that's a safety in 78. But
yeah,
it's not 1978 anymore. And were we even tracking sacks in 78? I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe not actually. But I mean, in the 80s that was a safety. Yeah. I mean, it had all the looks of a safety. And it was good to see Nick Bosa get off. Let's be honest. I mean, Nick Bosa, and he obviously missed some time, but he's a force. He's a force in nature.
And Hargrave and Bosa playing together, you're starting to see what the potential is of that. And if
two unstoppable guys.
If Javon Kinlaw can also be out there being the run-stuffing cork while Hargrave gets uber aggressive, looking to push the quarterback between the guards, again, when Steve Wilkes thinks about what he needs to really have a great year, he needs his defensive line putting pressure on a quarterback. And boy, he's got one of those set up. I thought Isaiah Oliver played very well last night. I know we talked a little bit about him. You brought up some hand waving off of Mooney Ward that I did not see. I must have been making a note. Take us
fourth quarter. They were trying to debate who's had the receiver on the weak side and who had the tight end, who was flexed out. And it seemed like Mooney thought was going to take the tight end. Oliver's job as the nickel, as the slot corner, was probably to take the flexed out tight end. There was a little bit of confusion. Now, we see confusion all the time in football, but it was odd because they usually will have there's a confusion moment, and then there's a quick communication, and then guys go to their spot. This was Oliver literally had to two-hand push Mooney to the other side of the formation because they were both debating this, and I'm sure it will come up when people review the film and ask Steve Wilkes about that later this week, because it was very odd. You just don't see it. Luckily, Jones threw incomplete to Waller on the play, and so the Niners were not burned. But you could make an argument, and I would bet, because I would bet that Ward really was not really covering anybody when that ball was snapped.
Well, I thought Isaiah Oliver had another really good game, and I thought that he did a better job defending Darren Waller than just about anybody else in that secondary. And maybe his familiarity with what Steve Wilkes wants out there made him say, hey, I know this situation. I know this play better than you do, Mooney. So you get over there. I'm going to take this. And if we're looking for Isaiah Oliver to really emerge as the player he was brought in to maybe be for this team, I look at that as a good moment. I don't, there's a little on-field argument to me is called normal. I'm not worried about that at all. And again, if the play doesn't hurt you, no harm, no foul. What's amazing, even with Kyle Shanahan as your coach and a buttoned up offense like this, there's still a lot of stuff that just happens on a football field.
Oh, sure.
It really is. There's guys who are out there and they look there like they're lined up correctly, and they're still not. There are little brain farts happening everywhere. And all of a sudden, this well-designed ballet is more of an improvisational jazz. Things that were oh, what a great timing route. Actually, that wasn't a timing route. That was hold your breath and good luck with it. And it worked. I mean, it works more often than it fails the 49ers. They're good. When you're good, you get a little bit more lucky in this league. I thought Purdy had 3 phenomenal throws. He had 3 other throws, 2 in the first drive, which could have been, interceptions. He got away with a couple last night. He did.
Yeah. But you know what, Damon? He's been remarkably consistent. I mean, this was a stat that I read late last night. Since Brock's last interception, Damon, and this includes the postseason, Brock Purdy is 125 for 190, which is 66%. It's remarkable when you look at his what he's done in the NFL on a per game basis and then what he did at Iowa State. He's always right there, 65, 66, 67, 68. He's in that neighborhood percentage-wise, completion percentage-wise. But since his last interception, he's 125 for 190 for 1,636 yards with 10 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a passer rating of 110.3. So you know what? And that you've been to practice. You'll hear the familiar refrain of "make a play, make a play, make a play." Well, and we always patted Jimmy Garoppolo on the back. Oh, the resiliency when he makes a huge mistake, he comes back and he makes a play. That's great, but it would be even greater if you didn't make the huge mistake. And that's kind of where Brock Purdy is. I mean, he got away with a few last night, so you could, but getting away with it is not making a mistake. You know what I mean? It's like, you step off the curb and you didn't look both ways. Did you make a mistake? Well, you make a mistake if a bus is coming. You didn't make a mistake if nothing's coming. So, you know what I'm saying? It's like the results do ultimately define whether it was a mistake or not. But Purdy, yes, he makes plays, but what he really does is he avoids negative plays far better than most players his age. I mean, you think about rookie quarterbacks around the NFL or even second-year quarterbacks around the NFL. They don't avoid mistakes and avoid negative plays at the rate that Brock Purdy does. Purdy takes care of the football. He processes what he sees. He throws with anticipation. The ball comes out fast and generally accurately. So, I mean, it wasn't a masterpiece. It wasn't perfect. But Brock Purdy is not, even in the face of a constant dizzying array of different blitzes, kept his poise and didn't turn it over. That right there, and then put up 30 points without his number one receiver on a short week. I mean, we can be critical all we want, but man, that's pretty damn good, to be honest.
Are they mistakes that you can live with, or are they mistakes that are going to haunt you? The Niners are making live with them mistakes. By the way, you and I have made a live with it mistake. Look at how well we're executing, even though we're out of misalignment right here, Larry. It was just brought up to me. Easy Merc Z says, do you realize that Damon is in the Krug show box and Krug is in the Damon Bruce box? We're in the wrong boxes, Larry. There we go. See, now we're properly lined up. We needed to go ahead. I needed to Isaiah Oliver push you over to the proper spot on the field. There you go, Mooney, Larry.
Mooney, we can play with this all day, man. I mean, we can go like this. Hey, look, Damon's the star. Get the hell out of here. I'm the star.
No, you know what, Larry?
Let's back us up. Let's make us bigger.
Here's the star. Give the real star of the show a close-up. Welcome, everyone, to 49ers Wake Up with Damon and Larry, brought to you by the Acai Bowl at Palmetto Superfoods. Look at how delicious that is. Tell me that's not a parfait that looks like the perfect way to start your day. I had this delivered last night. It is thawed out enough where I forgot a spoon. I'm not just going to start eating it or else I'm going to get cocoa nibs all over my mustache. But this is an absolutely delicious, healthy, nutritious way to start your day. The best acai bowl you're going to find in the Bay Area is at
Can you put it closer? Can you put it a little closer to the camera? Because I want to see. I mean, can you tilt it at all? Because right there, where's Damon's finger? Those are bananas.
Bananas.
And then you've got the acai. You've got the coconut.
There's something called a goji berry on there.
The goji berries on top. You got some strawberries on there as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's flat out delicious. It really is.
So everything's got layers. This layer right here,
Coconut. That's the acai, I
this
believe.
is the acai. This is the coconut something. This is the money right here. This is the dragon fruit, Larry.
The dragon fruit is delicious.
And it's absolutely fantastic. This is called, I think, the Caribbean. This has got all sorts of tropical action going on. I'm looking forward to getting to this bad boy a little bit later on. And it's also, you know what? And here's the thing. It's pretty. Girls like pretty. Go ahead. Find out that the hottest line of women in yoga pants you're going to find in San Francisco is at Palmetto Superfoods. Go ahead and get yourself an acai bowl. Gentlemen, it's a target-rich environment. That's all I'm going to tell you. I'm just going to throw it out there. Politically correct, incorrect. I think it's a selling point. I would put it forward if I were Palmetto. And I'm telling you, this is delicious, good for you food. It fills you up. You feel healthy. You don't feel fat when you eat it. And me having a meal where I don't feel like a fat boy at the end of it, I call that a big win every single time it happens, Larry. So there you go. Get yourself to Palmetto. It's great to have them here sponsoring 49ers Wake Up. I know we're getting closer.
The locations are on the bottom there. San Francisco, Burlingame, Palo Alto, future locations in Campbell, Mill Valley, Berkeley, Walnut Creek, San Ramon, Mountain View, one in Southern California. They're working on opening one in Hawaii. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Mitch asked, can you customize them? Absolutely. This one right here is called the Bay. This is like the signature. This is your starter acai bowl. This is called the Bay. And it's repping the Bay. It's repping Brazil. Oi, tutu bang. Get yourself an acai bowl. Larry, like I said, we're approaching our 9 a.m. hour. We've been on for almost an hour. What I love about the simulcast is you are getting some super chats. I'm getting some super chats. I think
I'll read some here.
Same place. So let's get into them.
Let's fire away. Here we go. Ty Bud says slow start, felt like a walkthrough. Brock Purdy was a little shaky. There you go, Ty Bud. Good morning, Ty.
It wasn't the smoothest of starts for Brock. I'll agree with you there. There are throws he would like to have back, but again, nothing haunted, no mistake. An incomplete pass is not that bad of a play, all things considered. As long as you
and when you factor in the Giants' defensive game plan, there was going to be some good and bad, and generally, young quarterbacks start to be affected by all these blitzes and really start to turn it over. Maybe in the second half, we just didn't see it. Kyer 2021 says, great to not have 50 commercials an hour like KNBR.
Hi, I'm Steve Moskowitz. Have you heard about the PPP loan? PPP?
There's no Cars for Kids ads here. All right. James T. Kirk has become a YouTube member, and you know what? I don't know if he's a member of your channel or my channel, but we always give a little clap for all of the YouTube members.
We haven't advanced that far down the road. Once we get to 10,000 subscribers, we're going to open up some memberships at $1 million a membership. I don't know what you're charging, but $1 million to become a member.
Mine's only $10,000, but James, you'll get the invoice at the end of the month. Thank you for being a member. No, we're just joking on that. And For Life Niner, who was in the chat last night, back in the chat this morning, Krueger, how was that not a safety on for Nick Bosa? Yeah, we kind of already hit that. I thought it was, to be completely honest. For Life Niner doubles back. He's emptying the clip. He says, can we not do the over the middle throws versus
the Cowboys?
Versus the Cowboys.
Call them cow ladies. See what he did there? You're going for cowgirl. That is I've never heard of a cow lady, but the cowgirl is an actual figure in the historic Western culture of America.
It's funny. I saw a couple of my content creator friends bemoaning the Cowboys losing Trevon Diggs. It's like, okay, it's bad form to root for injuries, but I don't need to bemoan other teams' injuries. That's for sure.
Oh, no one's rooting for anything. Let me tell you how good of a night it was for the 49ers last night. Not only did they win, but the Dallas Cowboys lost star corner Trevon Diggs to a torn ACL in practice. And folks, if that doesn't just show you how, on a razor wire, every single team's prospects of winning an ultimate prize really are. I'm going to tell you what's great about Christian McCaffrey is Christian McCaffrey, every single time he touches the ball, can take it to the house. The thing that's scary about Christian McCaffrey is that every single time he touches the ball, he has Super Bowl aspirations riding with him on that carry. And if one of these carries, he doesn't get up for the remainder of the season, that's going to be it. The 49ers will not be winning a Super Bowl without Christian McCaffrey this year. So, don't go rooting for any injuries, because this team is one injury away to that one guy from not looking anything like this.
One thing also to mention about McCaffrey, he has now scored a touchdown in 12 consecutive games, and that includes regular season and playoffs. That matches JR, the great Jerry Rice, in 1987 for the longest such streak in 49er history. In fact, the record for most consecutive games with a touchdown is set by Emmitt Smith with the Cowboys. 14 straight games Emmett hit pay dirt. Arian Foster second on that list with 13, and third on the list is CMC. So that's pretty good category. I know people don't remember Arian Foster, but there was a period there where he was absolutely on top of the NFL world, and Emmett is one of the all-time greats.
Arian Foster, along with a Priest Holmes season many years ago, brought me to the top of a fantasy football league. So yes. I remember that Arian, that year that he had. But look, this is I say without reservation, Larry, the 49ers won the Christian McCaffrey trade. Oh my God. He is best. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that he is the best skill position player the 49ers have had, maybe since Jerry Rice. I don't think it's an exaggeration. I mean, he's done something that only Jerry Rice has ever done. So that kind of puts him in that conversation. When I think of essential guys, like this offense does not run without player X. Who fits the X well? When are you ever going to say, like, some Alex Smith teams would not have functioned without Vernon Davis? Okay, I'll give you that. Vernon Davis was maybe the most important offensive weapon for a while for the 49ers. Michael Crabtree was supposed to be that, never really became that. J.J. Stokes maybe didn't. Frank Gore, obviously a great player, but he never had the week in, week out, holy shit level of games that Christian McCaffrey is having.
Anquan Bolden was a nice Niner, but how about this? In games McCaffrey has started since last season, the 49ers are 15-1. 15-1.
Is that good?
That's decent. I mean, and credit John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. I mean, they passed on McCaffrey in 2017. They took Solomon Thomas. And all the people that were saying, they should have taken Mahomes. Okay, that's 2020 hindsight. I think really what bothered Lynch was that they didn't take McCaffrey, because McCaffrey went 8th in that draft, and they had the 3rd pick overall. They probably, if they didn't want to take a quarterback, they probably should have taken CMC. Instead, they took Solly, and Solly's a good player. He's a hardworking player for the Jets. He's still in the league. It's not like Solly Thomas is washed out. He's decent. He's got a high motor. He can do some things, but he ain't Christian. And Christian is, it's funny, Todd Husak, the old Stanford quarterback, and I used to debate this. I thought Christian McCaffrey was going to be kind of more of a part-time player because of, and I stated it to Todd. I said, I think he's not going to show enough durability. I think he runs upright. He's going to take hits. He's not going to be durable. And it's funny, he busted onto the scene. He was awesome. Todd was like, hey, Krug, told you. Then he had a couple years there where he was hurt, and Krug went back to Husak and said, hey, Todd, told you. And now Todd's having the last laugh because Christian is been very healthy with the 49ers, and he leads the NFL in rushing by a wide margin. And not just because the Niners played on Thursday night and everybody else plays this weekend. Coming into last night's game, Christian McCaffrey had 268 rushing yards, second in the league, Bijan Robinson at 180, third in the league, the Eagles' DeAndre Swift at 178. So CMC has been, first of all, he's a perfect fit for this offense, perfect fit for how Shanahan wants to utilize him. But he's also been healthy with the 49ers, and with all these weapons, I mean, what an addition. Yeah, I mean, phenomenal trade. Absolutely phenomenal.
He's a finally realized idea for Kyle Shanahan. He finally has the queen on his chessboard. To the very beginning of the Kyle Shanahan era, he took a shot at finding a queen on the chessboard. His name was Jerick McKinnon. But unfortunately, he went down, he got hurt, and so he didn't have what he hoped to be an equivalent of Christian McCaffrey. And then in the following running backs that he picked, Carlos Hyde wasn't that breed of player. Other running backs that have come
Jeff
through.
Wilson, Raheem Mostert, they've been good.
Good, not exactly. Very good, but not quite the McCaffrey level of versatile. This guy, how about this, Larry? If he never, ever took another snap at running back and spent the rest of his career at slot receiver, you'd have a hell of an NFL player. That's who he is.
I can remember the day before the Niners traded for him, I did an interview with a Niner beat writer, and I'm not going to name him just because I'm not trying to embarrass anybody, and I'm not trying to. It was nothing against him, but in the interview I said, because there were a lot of rumors, are the Niners going to trade for Christian McCaffrey? And I asked this guy, I said, hey, you think the 49ers are going to trade for Christian McCaffrey? And he said, nah. And I said, why? He seems like a perfect fit. And he's like, because they don't need him. They have Jeff Wilson. They have Elijah Mitchell. And it was all true. Jeff Wilson was really, really solid, and he was a team leader. And Elijah Mitchell was damn good. 6th-round pick, kind of a find. But they're not Christian McCaffrey. You know what I mean? And I loved what I saw last night out of Elijah Mitchell. He had a nice, beautiful 18-yard run, and I want to see more of Elijah Mitchell. In some ways, I think he's the perfect complement to McCaffrey. Why? Because McCaffrey can catch the ball. McCaffrey's dynamic. And what is Mitchell? Mitchell is a small back, but he's got great vision and instincts and pick and slide. He never fumbles. He always falls forward. And he's the perfect guy he avoids negative runs. You're not going to have, -8 and all these crazy runs. You may catch a pass behind the line of scrimmage and get tackled, but if you hand him the ball and it's blocked for 2, he's getting 2, 3, or 4. If it's supposed to be 5, he's going to get 5, maybe 6. And he always falls forward. So I really love the combination of the way Kyle used the backs last year. And I think when we get down to the nitty-gritty, he's going to use them that way again. McCaffrey, a ton in the first half, build that lead. And then in the second half, when you're just trying to, put the game away, you hand the ball to either Elijah Mitchell or J.P. Mason and let them do their work. Why? Mason's, I like Mitchell because he's only fumbled. I think he fumbled once in college. I think he's fumbled once in the NFL. So he's very dependable. And he took some big hits. And he took a couple hits last night that he wasn't even anticipating, where he took hits from behind with guys that he didn't even see coming. And still the ball doesn't pop out. So it's a great sign, and to me, last night wouldn't have been fully complete as a good game plan if they hadn't worked in those other 2 backs, and they did. Let's fire away these last couple
one
supers.
One more note. What I thought was very much in evidence again after thinking about it. Last night's game was sort of an explanation of running back value in this league, as this league is sort of, stumbling and bubbling around what a running back's value should be. It was the number one topic of the NFL offseason, not paying running backs, not drafting, using high picks on running backs. Well, you know what? The Falcons did that with Bijan. They're very happy. When you got a player that you think can be an impact, you shouldn't hesitate to draft them anywhere if you think they're going to help your team. And then what do you do when it comes to paying a running back? Well, McCaffrey's the highest paid running back in the NFL, and he showed you why he's worth that last night. Now, the New York Giants, they tiptoed around an extension for Saquon Barkley. An injury pulls him off the field. Well, what do you got without him? New York, you want to talk about the value of a running back? I don't know what you didn't want to pay Saquon Barkley, but without him, here's what you're going to do. You're not going to win a single game probably until he comes back. The Giants are probably looking at a 1-4, 1-5 start to this year if Barkley's not back. They were held to 150 yards last night because Barkley is 50% of their offense. And when that is who your running back is, and then what? Like an arbitration, you're trying to make an argument that he's not worth the money? Like, look around, look at who you are, look at the team, how you're constructed and what you are without the guy. So I thought that last night was a little bit of a a run it in real time experiment of running back value in this league. Look at what the highest paid guys does for the 49ers. He's now scoring touchdowns like Jerry Rice and producing points that not even Hall of Fame quarterbacks produced on a weekly basis. And over here, the team that tiptoed around its running back has lost him now due to injury, and it's basically taken their entire offense and thrown it in the dumpster. So a lot of running back value on full display. It's amazing what actual football games do to define what football value really is. Like, you can have your front office, your plan, your cap, you can plan it all very, very well, but then a football game happens, and that's where the truth lies. And the truth has always been really good running backs are important for really good football teams. And how the NFL convinced itself otherwise, because they're just so afraid to put so much of a ratio of a cap into an off injured position. Like, I get it, but if you're in the business of football, you're in the business of running back risk. It's just, they're tied together. It happens.
Larry, they do. I mean, it's a totally separate conversation, and I don't want to take us down this rabbit hole, but after watching Nick Chubb, we saw that injury. That's why running backs want to get paid, and that's why teams don't want to pay them.
Yes,
all in one. And the NFL needs to address this, because these guys are valuable. You cannot have a conversation about, we need to win on Sunday, we need to win on Monday, we need to win on Thursday, we need to win a Super Bowl. Nobody can even have any conversation about this. It always starts with, well, we got to establish the run. Or on defense, hey, man, we got to take away the run. We got to take away the run. So something has to be done outside of the current CBA to just, recognize that these guys face an unbelievable amount of punishment, and they have to have their own category, their own pay structure. It needs to make sense. There's a lot of smart people that run these leagues. They need to create a mechanism on the new CBA where it protects the running backs from all the abuse that they take, while at the same time protecting the team from the vulnerability of losing such player. But I mean, it's just right now it's not, the running backs are being devalued, and yet they're very much needed. So that's kind of a contradiction. It's like, well, are they important? Well, I don't know. They aren't on draft day, but they sure are on game day. Jonathan Taylor is going to be traded here in a few weeks, and there's going to be all kinds of teams that are going to line up and say, we want him, we want him, we want him. But then I'm reading that now the Colts aren't even going to get a first-round pick for him, that they're probably going to have to take a second or a third for him. So it's like, what is it? Is it these guys incredibly valuable and you got to have them? Or are they not valuable and they're not worth paying for in the draft or in contract or in trade? So, I mean, right now we're in this kind of murky period, and I think that the running backs almost need to have an emergency meeting and band together and figure out a way to create a mechanism within the CBA, which doesn't come up for several years, but they need to make an amendment here to the CBA and make sure that both sides are covered, that the backs are covered. Maybe there's some guarantees for injuries. Maybe those guarantees don't go against the cap, so the teams are somehow covered. There needs to be something that recognizes that this is an important position and a brutally violent position, and one that's not a long-term deal. So, and by the way, on CMC, his longest run last night went for just 12 yards. But he was very consistent. He averaged nearly 5 yards per carry, despite not having that big, 40-yard run, like we saw in the first couple weeks. 12-yard run was his longest run, but he still went for almost five a pop. That's impressive.
Let me welcome everyone to our second hour here. It's 49ers Wake Up. Damon Bruce, Larry Krueger, simulcasting on both of our YouTube channels. It's wonderful to have you here. Hit like, hit subscribe, hit notify. Don't miss anything Larry and I are doing all season long, the day after the 49ers play. It's 49ers Wake Up starting at 8 a.m. We're now in our 9 a.m. hour. So welcome. Larry, how many people in the room? What are we looking at?
Well, we're looking at almost 850 people in the room right now.
And you add the nearly, about 150 that I have in the room right now. So
everybody, if you're in the chat right now, hit like, Always hit subscribe. You can subscribe to Damon's channel. He's getting it started. He's got how many subscribers right now, Damon?
Where are we? I believe we eclipsed 7,800 this morning. Where are we? Yeah, we're Larry. 7,800 even, right on the nose. 7,800 in what have we been doing this about 5 months? So it's a great
awesome
start.
That's great. That's a great number. And subscribe over at Damon's channel. Subscribe here on the Krueger Show as well. We're sitting at we're about to crest 23,600. We're at 23,599. Be that 23. Oh, wait a second. As I said that, we're now at 23,601. We picked up 2 subscribers in the last 10 seconds. Fish and chips.
Let me tell everyone before we start getting in those supers again one more time. We are brought to you by Palmetto Superfood. Look at how delicious that acai bowl looks. Forget about me explaining it to you. Just look at that. Tell me you don't want to eat that. That is refreshing, nutritious, delicious. Get to Palmetto Superfoods. Fantastic way to start your day. This is breakfast and dessert all at the same time. Go ahead and get yourself an acai bowl. It looks better than I do. I really should just glue it to my face.
Well, and as you're saying that, let's put up the promo code. If you are a fan of the extravaganza, the Monday morning extravaganza 49er Wake Up brought to you by Palmetto Superfoods, and I know you are, you can use the promo code DB as in Damon Bruce, LK as in Larry Krueger, 15 as in you're getting 15% off. So all you got to do is scan that code, and I put it up there on the screen. Scan that code. Bring it into to any of their locations, Palmetto Superfoods, and I'll put the locations on the bottom of the screen as well. One more time for you. Go to their locations, check them out, and though they are not in the Metreon, I mentioned that, and I tried to edit this out, and for some reason it has not edited. But the rest of those locations are their actual locations. Scan the code. And use that promo code DBLK15, and you'll get 15% off of your acai order at Palmetto Superfoods. And we thank them for being the proud sponsor of the show.
It's a great place to go. It's a great place to bring the family, great place to bring the girlfriend, the wife. It might even be a great place to find a girlfriend or a wife. If you like yoga pants, you're going to love Palmetto Superfoods. I mean, that should be, forget about the acai bowls. Their slogan should be, do you like yoga pants? Palmetto Superfoods.
Exactly. We have this one from Fish and Chips. He says, "I've been a Kyle critic at the crucial times because of his brain farts. I'm seeing a different Kyle within 3 games. I think he thinks that this Purdy guy is the driver of his F1 car to the trophy. I think that if Kyle's going to say the right things. Jimmy's still around. There's other quarterbacks that have played for him that are still in the league. He doesn't want to bash anybody. But I think if you gave him like truth serum, or if you got him in a private moment, let's say when the cameras weren't around, not at the stadium, I think he would admit to you that he knows that in Brock Purdy, he's got a guy who can run every aspect of his game. And what are the aspects of his game? He likes a run-heavy plan. He likes play action pass off of it. He likes to operate the bootleg game. That's a major component of what he does. The play action game, the bootleg game, the quick game. Your footwork has to be on point for all those things to work. Your processing between the ears has to be on point. And in Brock Purdy, he's got a guy who processes really well, and his footwork in the short game is outstanding. He's completing almost 90% of his passes in the intermediate area, which is like 10 to 19 yards. That's his bread and butter. Jimmy completed a high percentage under Kyle in that range as well, but Brock's even been better than that. I mean, that's the other thing. Jimmy was a veteran, and Jimmy was say what you want about Jimmy. You said it last week on the stream, on a video that my son produced into a reel that got almost 300,000 views, right? Wasn't it? Or what was the total view count? I have to look at that, but it was a ton of views on the on your IG reel.
It was 4 billion views, Larry.
Yeah, it was a ridiculous number of views. But I mean, that you made the point that, hey, the whole Jimmy Garoppolo experience ended with a victory more times than not. So it's not like Jimmy was some mediocre or subpar quarterback. He was pretty damn good. They won an NFC championship with Jimmy Garoppolo. And here is Brock Purdy in his second year, and he's really consistently, week after week after week, outperforming Jimmy Garoppolo. Either outperforming him directly, but he's definitely winning at a higher clip. He's never lost a game that he finished, but he's also taking care of the football a lot better. Brock doesn't have to show great resiliency that Jimmy showed because he doesn't make the errors that Jimmy made. And Jimmy really didn't feel comfortable turning his back on the defense on a play action. So a lot of the play action came with Jimmy in the shotgun, not from under center. Well, that's not necessarily the way Kyle would like to do it. So now you've got Brock there. He's got him under center, and the play action game is working to perfection. The bootleg game is very effective. And you saw it last night. I mean, when there's free runners at the quarterback, Brock doesn't panic. And the other thing about Brock Purdy that's clearly better than Jimmy Garoppolo at this point is Jimmy would have negative plays. How many times last night? I mean, Brock completed almost 67% of his passes, but he did it while throwing at least 5, just threw them away. Let's say the blitz was coming. He wasn't expecting it. He wasn't going to take a negative play. He wasn't going to take a sack and a strip sack or a fumble. He just threw that ball away. Either threw it off to the sideline, threw it into the turf. And that's as important as making a play right there, is avoiding the negative plays. So Purdy's playing at a pretty high level, despite the fact that last night was not one of his, masterpieces.
The difference that Fish and Chips is asking about, you explained it in 3-4 minute rant there very well and vividly. Let me just use one word. The difference is confidence. This is Kyle having full confidence in his quarterback. And notice that as Brock was having a less than smooth operation to his first half last night, at no point in time did Kyle start calling a different level of plays. Now, he wasn't taking shots down the field. He decided, we're going to run some screens. We're going to get our backs involved. We're going to keep it near the line of scrimmage because Brock is a little off tonight, but he didn't stop throwing the ball on first or second down. He would stop throwing the ball on first or second down with Jimmy Garoppolo. He would just straight up stop. He would be like, I don't like what I see today. I don't trust my quarterback to make the right play, the right read. If he has to go to a third read, that's where trouble starts for us at all times. That's where Jimmy doesn't see the linebacker, doesn't see the safety sneaking over, and that's where Jimmy gets hurt on that third read. Brock processes the field and the reads enough to where Kyle doesn't lose confidence in him, even though every throw isn't graded an A+. That's the difference I think Fish and Chips is talking about.
Yeah, no, I think that's well said. Let's get a couple more of these in here. Ken Kanecki. Hey, Ken, good morning. He says, O-line is terrible. Brock has no time to throw. I don't know if I'd call the O-line terrible. I mean, you got the best left tackle in pro football. I think you've got
night and was lucky he didn't get ejected because he hit a giant.
I know. But if you go back and watch that, it looked like the giant, Trent pushed that guy like once and then twice, but then it looked like the giant threw the first punch.
It's the second
and then
Trent tossed.
And then Trent threw a harder punch. I felt like I was watching Deion Sanders and Bad Moon Andre Rison, because nobody got ejected. Normally in games like that, my buddy who's a Raider fan sent me a text last night in the middle of the game. He's like, if that were a Raider, he would have been arrested and banned from the league. But instead, for Trent, he doesn't even get kicked out. And I'm like, well, that's life of rooting for the Raiders.
Hey, we are our reputations, right? We are our reputations. So Trent, I think, got to slide in a very ejectable situation last night, and it's lucky for Brock and the 49ers that was allowed. But you want to talk about it was a bad night for the offensive line.
I disagree. It was a bad night for the offensive line.
Look, it's real simple. As we said earlier, Brock faced blitzes on 86% of his dropbacks, if you include the plays which, were nullified by penalties. Getting blitzed nearly 90% of the time is an abnormal way to conduct business on an NFL field. So the fact that the 49ers survived a straight up Wink Martindale dedication to putting the mollywop on them is to me impressive. I think that the offensive line, considering they faced an abnormal amount of blitzing, did hold up pretty well, and Purdy was only sacked twice.
Well, I mean, yeah. So let's talk about the offensive line. I mean, first of all, there's the personnel. I think Brendel made a number of really good calls last night. The tackles, for the most part, have held up pretty well. I think the guards are going to be in place for the next 10 years. I think Burford and Banks are going to be their guards going forward. So if you don't like this O-line, you may want to come around, because this is going to be the O-line. But they threw it 37 times. They didn't turn it over. They only gave up 2 sacks. They opened run lanes for a running game that went for 141 yards on the ground. They outrushed the Giants 141-29. So I don't know. I mean, I don't want to say I don't want to say that Ken's wrong here, but I think Ken might be judging this a little too harshly, to be completely honest. We've got another one here from Ty Budd. He says, at Ken, now he's referring to Ken Konecki. He says 85% blitz, more rush than blocker equals no what? What is that? What's that little emoji? No time. Oh, that's a clock. That's what that is. Yeah. I mean, yeah, when you face these kinds of exotics, what you're looking for is take care of the football and be able to run your game plan, and they did. They did. It wasn't going to be pretty. Believe me, when I watched the All-22 of Giants Cardinals from week 2, and I saw the first half where the Giants were trailing 20-0, and then I saw the impact that the blitzing had on Joshua Dobbs, I knew, and Shanahan knew, and then Chris Forster knew that Martindale, a veteran defensive coordinator, was going to bring the freaking house all day. And that, to me, I told you yesterday, I told the guys over at 95.7 The Game, the wild card factor was going to be the New York Giants rush. Kayvon Thibodeau is a nasty edge rusher. And the Giants were a top half of the league sack team last year. So they were going to bust out at some point. And he brought every possible pressure known to man, and the Niners gave up 2 sacks and no fumbles and no picks and ran for a ton of yards. So I'll take that every time.
By the way, I'm looking at a column that Nick Wagner, since we were just talking about it, I'll insert this right here because there's no reason to spend a lot of time on it. But they're saying that the NFL is defending Trent Williams' non-ejection, saying it couldn't confirm that he threw a closed fist punch. Really? Because I have eyes and video, and he absolutely threw a closed fist punch into the face mask of a New York Giant. There's nothing to debate. Trent Williams shoved him before he stepped back. Look, Trent Williams, here's the deal. This is not a show occupied by 2 homers who are trying to blow smoke up your ass and everything's perfect in Niner land. That's why we're good at what we do. Trent Williams should have been ejected last night. He should have. Straight up, should have been ejected. And the NFL
can't throw punches. You just can't.
Try to explain it away with, well, we didn't see a closed fist punch. Well, who the hell's looking at your replay then? You need to get some glasses. He absolutely hit a guy. And he's lucky he didn't get ejected. And he needs to have a better game than he did because he got called for the offensive lineman downfield. He was called for downfield. He got called for a holding in this game. It was not a great Trent Williams night.
No. There's no way around that. Trent's a great player, but you're right. He probably should have been ejected right there. Gizmo Maltese says, I love the quick slant to Debo, blitz beater. Yeah, in a lot of ways, Debo is a perfect guy to throw against blitzes because you can get the ball out quick. Eric Pierce says, here's a deuce. No comment. Just, hey, I'm Eric Pierce, and here's
go.
$2.
$2.
$2. One for you, one for me. Fish and Chips throws a couple. Is that pounds?
That is. He's using the Queen's He's using the queen, the king's currency. The queen is no longer with us. Sorry, fish and chips. That's the king's currency.
There you go. Fans that say it should have been an interception want it to be. Okay.
Well, I mean, I think, look, there's definitely
right. Well, that's true, by the way. That is true. The people that are talking about, oh, this should have been a pick, that should have been a pick. These are probably the same people that were convinced that Trey Lance outperformed Brock Purdy in camp, and when clearly that wasn't the case.
Yeah, that wasn't actually happening, but that wasn't going to stop them from reporting it. Again, we're not
right. It wasn't actually happening, and there probably would have been a huge mutiny of veteran players if they had gone in that direction. But go with whatever narrative you want. Glass half full guy. Glass half full's a regular. He says the 49ers season feels like they know it's go time this season and time to finally win that Super Bowl they've been so close to getting. Yeah, I get the feeling about that as well. In fact, I'm looking at 49er Web Zone. How about this? The 49ers have scored 30 points at Pittsburgh, 30 points against the Rams, now 30 points against the Giants, at least 30. The Niners have scored 30 or more points in each of the first 3 games of a season for only the 3rd time in franchise history. The other 2 times, 1984, they won the Super Bowl. 1992, they were clearly the best team in football and lost the NFC Championship game to the upstart Dallas Cowboys because the Cowboys played ball control and had a phenomenal game plan. But that 92 Niner team, I've talked to Steve Young about this, I think that 1992 Niner team might have been one of the greatest Niner teams of all time. I mean, that was an absolute phenomenal team. And, yeah, Dallas got the bowl that year. But as far as I'm concerned, 84 and 92 are Super Bowl caliber teams, and they started 3-0 with scoring 30 points a game. So in each of those games. So that's a great trend. It's absolutely a great trend. It was great to see. Another one from Glass Half Full guy. We got that one already. We got this one from J Mad. He says, after hearing Justin Fields' comments on how he feels robotic and can't play freely due to coaching, this confirms he could have never worked with Kyle.
I mean, I don't know, because
you're a Bears guy. What do you think?
Different situations change everything, but Justin Fields is not a Kyle Shanahan quarterback. Justin Fields is the more polished equivalent, I think, of Trey Lance. He's what Trey Lance might have been, could have been, and I think that Kyle would have eventually looked at Justin Fields and said he's just not accurate enough, and he doesn't see the field well enough. And I mean, the whole, is it time for the Bears to move on from Justin Fields conversation that I see happening? Well, first of all, it's definitely not the time because it's week 3 of the season that you're in. So it's not the time to move on from a starting quarterback. But Justin Fields is there's a lot to be seen from him for the remainder of the year, and whether or not this is a true franchise quarterback you're going to go forward with, I don't know. Look, the Bears are such an unmitigated dumpster fire from top to bottom. They just had their defensive coordinator resign after 2 weeks. I mean, it's the whole thing's abnormal. Stop. Just stop.
By the way, I'm gonna, sometimes I will make a prediction that goes against the grain, and I don't always see things the same way that other people see things. Let me just say this for all the people in the back to hear. I think the Bears have really got a phenomenal quarterback on their roster, and his name is Tyson Bagent. And he played college ball for the Shepherd Rams. And you say, what?
Who are the Shepherd Rams?
Yeah, he played for Shepherd. That's the school that he played for. Okay. And Shepherd is a tiny little school in the state of West Virginia. And it's in Chauncey. Or it's in where is it? It's in Shepherdstown, West Virginia. Shepherd Rams. And it used to be called Shepherd College. It's in Shepherdstown, West Virginia. It's a Division II Division II program. Tyson Bagent is real, and right now nobody knows that. But give it time, and they will. And that kid's legit. He is going to be the future quarterback for the Chicago Bears. Mark it down. He's not. It's going to take a lot to get there because Fields was a first-round pick, and Badgent's still a rookie. But Badgent played great in the preseason. He's really underrated. And I would say at this point next year, Bears fans will be talking about Tyson Badgent.
Let me just end this conversation on this note. The difference between really good, well-run teams and poorly run teams are moving onto or off of decisions quickly, picking a direction and staying in it. The fact that the Bears will burn the next 2 seasons on Justin Fields, even though there's probably not a lot of there, unless he's running with the ball, there's not a lot happening. They will commit to their mistake. The opposite of the way Kyle Shanahan got off of his Trey Lance mistake. And the Trey Lance entire saga is not cloaked in glory. But the best time to get out of a bad investment is today, right now. Right now. The stock is dropping. You don't like it? Sell today, because it might even be worth less than if you hold on to it till tomorrow. So give Kyle the credit. He got out from underneath something he didn't believe worked, and he had the luxury of doing that because he has someone in Brock Purdy who's more than working. He's working at a historically good level. Again, last night, Larry, was one of those weird games where it didn't look nearly as good offensively as it turned out to be for the 49ers in the box score. And it didn't almost look as good defensively for the 49ers as it turned out to be in the box score. But it is. I want to share this with you. Through the first 3 weeks of the season, well, first of all, the 49ers defense held the Giants to just 150 total yards, which is the fewest amount of yards since Jimmy Garoppolo's debut game at Soldier Field back in 2017. And for the first 3 weeks of the season, the 49ers have held opponents to just 159 total rushing yards. It's the third fewest in weeks 1 through 3 by the team since 1970. So
saw that.
That's an impressive way to start a year with huge aspirations. No doubt.
No doubt. And a lot of that's Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw and how incredible they are. A lot of that's Javon Kinlaw absorbing blockers up front. That was I got to be honest, Damon, this was a concern of mine in training camp. I brought it up to Kyle Shanahan at the end of the preseason. I said, Kyle, last 2 preseason games, you guys gave up 6 yards a carry. I said, how concerned are you about your run defense coming into this year? And he said, you know what? If it was based on these preseason games, I'd be very concerned because I see the same things that you see. He goes, I'll go one better. He goes, I didn't think we stopped the run very good against the Raiders in that first preseason game either. But we were number 1 against the run last year. And I do believe that part of that was related to we didn't defend Max Duggan well in the read option in that Charger preseason game. A little bit is Joshua Kelly got loose on a 75-yard run. A little bit of it is the fact that they were introducing D. Winters and Jalen Graham to the mix, and so the rookie linebackers will sometimes shoot the wrong gap and leave the defense vulnerable to a big play, and did. So he had, it was like, hey, the numbers don't look good, and we're totally aware of it, and I agree with you, but we have reasons to believe that we will be better kind of when it counts. And here we are 3 weeks in, and damn if he wasn't right. They have been very, very good at stopping the run. They held the Giants to 29 yards rushing on the night, which is the fewest rushing yards the Niners have surrendered since 2019 at Cincinnati, September of 2019. So they're doing a really good job defending the run right now, and it's great to see.
By the way, Zach, you got your near weekly Dre Greenlaw personal foul by the sideline. Like drink every single time that happens. You want like Dre Greenlaw flag on the sideline. Drink. I'm
so sick of that. By the way, let's stop penalizing big hits. It was a big hit. That's all it was. It was a big hit by a linebacker. He's a freaking linebacker. I mean, my God. I mean, seriously, I talked to Dre in the locker room after the game, and by the way, he rolled the ankle a little bit, but it wasn't swollen. I said, Dre, how's the ankle? He said, it's a low ankle sprain. I should be able to go against Arizona. That's what he said. He goes, it didn't even swell up on me. And then he's standing there in the locker room, and he's like, look, I can jump. And he's like jumping up and down with bare feet with an ankle that he just rolled. And if you watch the highlight of it or the low light, it looked like a pretty good ankle roll, like something you'd see in like an NBA game. but just shows how great these athletes really are, man. I mean, that if I had that, I said, Dre, if I rolled my ankle the way you rolled your ankle, I'd have an air cast, and my wife would be driving me everywhere. It's like you're jumping up and down and vowing to play 10 days from now in an NFL game, and it's these guys are built a different way.
I will say this about Dre Greenlaw, and I bet you Kyle Shanahan feels the same way. Do you want to see him cut back on the edge of roughing penalties, especially around the sideline where he picks up, again, one per week? You'd like to see him cut back on that, but you never want to take the aggression out of an aggressive player. So if He's a hitter. Yeah, if Dre Greenlaw is going to pull one yellow hanky out per week, that's just the price of doing business with Dre Greenlaw, and business is good.
Did you see Debo before I'm not sure if it was, maybe it was a Steeler game. It was before the Steeler game, and after the anthem, he's going down the line, and he's getting every guy ready to go. And that's the beauty of Debo, by the way. He is a tone setter. He's a guy that gets you going. And so he's going down the line. He's banging guys on their shoulder pads. When he gets to Greenlaw, he's like, greatest in the effing world. Greatest in the effing world. He gets to Warner. Greatest in the effing world. And it's like that's how the Niner teammates think about Dre and Fred, that they are the greatest linebackers in the game today. I mean, that's and believe me, these guys do not blow smoke up each other's ass. It's not like, hey, you know what? You're great. You're the greatest. If he wasn't, he wouldn't say it. Well, he wouldn't say it. He'd just go, hey, man, he'd say something else. He wouldn't say greatest in the effing world, because Debo knows Greenlaw and Warner right now are the greatest linebackers in the world. These guys are a phenomenal duo. And Postman and Capitola's got a good one. We'll get back to Zachary Kelway in a second. But the super chat from the Postman, who's a longtime fan of yours, Damon, and a guy who's been a regular caller to both of our shows through the years. He says, better duo, Patrick Willis, Navarro Bowman, Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw.
Well, what you got right there is almost a mirror image, right? I mean, the best two linebacker tandem that I've seen the 49ers really roll out in any particular season was that Willis. I mean, Patrick Willis was, without a doubt, for a minute there, the best linebacker in all of football. And the only one who might be better is this Navarro Bowman guy that's playing next to him. I mean, that's how it was. Like, Navarro Bowman was like neck and neck with Patrick Willis, and Dre Greenlaw might not be that, but he's close. Fred Warner is the best middle linebacker in football.
I would say the way I would grade it is Fred Warner is the best coverage linebacker of the four. Of those four guys, if you're going to have a guy in today's game where you're in the sub package 70% of the time, and it's pass, and pass some more, I'll take Fred. Because Fred can cover guys down the field like a defensive back, because he was kind of a rover hybrid defensive back linebacker at BYU, and he's damn good at it.
It's really hard to do everything well. Fred Warner does everything well.
But I mean, his coverage ability is off the charts. I love Greenlaw because I love the guy who lives for the violence, and that's what he is. But man, at their apex, I mean, first of all, Patrick Willis, I think, was a top 6 pick in the draft, so he's a blue chipper. And Navarro Bowman would have been a top 5 pick if he had been 6'2" instead of 6 feet. But he's a Penn State linebacker, and we all know the lineage of great Penn State linebackers. You name it, LeVar Arrington, Shane Conlon, you name it. And they've produced so many damn good linebackers. I guess I would go Willis and Bowman, because they were so spectacular, but it's close, man.
Well, and here's the thing. One of those guys is in the Hall of Fame. So, I mean, Willis is in, right? Patrick Willis got in?
No,
he's not. No. Well, he will. How about that?
He
will be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Patrick Willis and Navarro Bowman were both all pro, where, Warner and Greenlaw are more in that Pro Bowl caliber, but, to me, it's very comparable. Very comparable players. Let me get 2 more here from Zachary Kelway. He says, thought Larry was crazy to think that Juwan Jennings wouldn't be a Niner next year. Now I agree. Are we thin at receiver considering Debo isn't a route runner. Debo's not an elite route runner, but I don't think we're thin at receiver, or I don't think the Niners are thin at receiver. I like Ronnie Bell and Ray McLeod, and even the guys they got behind him. I'm a big Tay Martin fan. He's got good ability. Heck, Willie Snead had a phenomenal training camp, and he's a veteran that's on their practice squad. I think they got a lot of receivers, to be honest. And Tay Martin's a terrific route runner with great hands. So no, and Ray's a jack of all trades return man, but he's a very versatile receiver. I think they're in good hands. The reason I said that Juwan's not coming back, it's not that he's not great or not worthy of coming back. I just think he's so good that somebody's going to pay him at the end of the year. Right. And with Ayuk, yeah, I mean, exactly. Ayuk is going to get paid. And Lynch pretty much said as much when he admitted last week that they're going to roll over a lot of their $40+ million of cap into next year. Well, the number one guy at the top of the list to get paid next year is Brandon Ayuk. They've already extended Debo, so they just drafted Ronnie Bell. They have Ray. I think Jennings is going to get starter money in the offseason. From especially if he continues to produce in the playoffs. I expect him to. I just think he'll price himself out. But there's no doubt. It wasn't like, Juwan sucks. No, it's Juwan's really good, and you can't pay everybody. And then Zachary Kelway says, McKivitz is our worst starter. Burford is weak, too. I disagree. I think McKivitz is serviceable, and I think Burford's a guy who's going to be a 10-year starter.
He's improving. Burford is not weak. Burford is just on the side that comes with the most amount of criticism attached to it. Aaron Banks is a stud, and obviously
really good player.
Is as established as an offensive lineman can be in this league. I think McKivitz is on the come, by the way, spelled with a Z, not an S at the end there. McKivitz.
He's going wine tasting, by the way. I did an interview with him in the locker room, and I'll fully admit I like McKivitz. So maybe I'm a little biased in that regard, but I think Colton on a championship caliber team in an ideal world, Colton McKivitz would be your first offensive lineman off the bench who can play any of the 5 spots.
Look, Larry, you don't get A+ everywhere on a football team. It's not allowed. It's the league is built to make sure that you don't have 5 all-stars on your offensive line. And if you want to put 5 all-stars on your offensive line, you better have a quarterback on a rookie deal, and you're not going to have any money for skill position players anywhere else. You can't assemble and everyone is state-of-the-art football team. The league is literally built to not allow that to happen. That's what the cap is there for. So
there's no 85 Bears, where, you look around, there's Wilbur Marshall, there's Otis Wilson, there's Mike Singletary, Richard Dent, Steve McMichael, Dan Hampton, Gary Fensick. You can't have just an abundance of riches at every position. You can't be the 92 Niners anymore. You can't be the 92 Cowboys. Look at that, 85 Bears.
It's just, dude.
Greatest defense of all time. I don't even want to debate it.
Wilbur
75 Steelers. Yeah, Wilbur Marshall. What a linebacking core. If you're not old enough to see the 85 Bears and live through it, you don't have an appreciation for it. But just think of it this way. They created a song about going to the Super Bowl that was a hit. And they created it in like week 6
in November. They recorded
and they had the
Super Bowl anthem in November.
Think about that. They recorded a song called the Super Bowl Shuffle before the playoffs ever began. That would be, if that happened today, they would be Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp, Stephen A. Smith, and all the media nationally. The audacity! Can you believe the audacity of this team? They've created a song about going to the Super Bowl, months before the playoffs. Talk about putting the cart before the horse. What people would lose their ass if somebody did that today.
It would be the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark. You'd have melting faces.
It's like Red Auerbach lighting up the victory cigar in the first quarter.
And that's funny. They recorded
it's incredible. Nobody questioned it.
They record the song and then they're like, should we sit on this? And they're like, nah, fuck it. Put it out. Put it
Right.
out. And it was a top 10 hit in the United States.
Right.
The people, you can't, it would be impossible to explain to like a 20-year-old kid today what a phenomenon Refrigerator Perry was.
Well, you know what it was? It was the combination of schematics and talent. When you have cutting edge schematics and a genius coordinator in Buddy Ryan, who was as good as they got. I mean, let's be honest. Buddy Ryan was synonymous with, he was the Jets defensive coordinator when they pulled off the upset of the Colts in Super Bowl III. He was the defensive coordinator for the Purple People Eaters, well before he ever came to Chicago and Hallis Hall. And, he was handpicked by George Hallis to run that defense, and it was wicked. And they, Hampton, McMichael, and Fridge inside, 3 guys for 2 spots. And then Dent off the edge was just unfreaking believable. And then obviously Wilbur Marshall, Mike Singletary, Otis Wilson, Sean Gale, Gary Fensick,
Dave Duerson,
the late Dave Duerson, Notre Dame star. Great player. They had Willie Galt on offense and Walter and a damn good offensive line. Bortz and Thayer and Hilgenberg and Big Jimbo Covert. There was a lot there. And then, of course, the crazy one, Jim McMahon, who I played golf with, at Joe Montana's golf tournament in the 90s. And I'll tell you, it was one of the most fun days I've ever had playing golf with Jim McMahon and Jim Kelly. I was in a foursome with Jim McMahon, Jim Kelly, and I forget who the fourth guy was, but we played in Joe Montana's golf tournament. Maybe the most enjoyable round of golf of my life, playing with Jim McMahon and Jim Kelly. Trick shots, swearing, cigars, shots, storytelling. I mean, just one of the greatest days ever.
I love it. I love when Larry gets excited. I didn't even know that you were a big golfer. Did you still golf very much?
Well, I'm one of these guys that, like, I hit it great off the tee, and I've got pretty decent hand-eye coordination, so I can putt, but I can't hit my 2-iron, my 3-iron, my 4-iron, my 5-iron, my 6-iron, or my 7-iron. I can hit I can drive it, and you can sit there and go, wow, man, you can hit the ball. And then once I get to around the green, I can use my 8, my 9, my pitching wedge, my sand wedge. But all my iron game is a circus. I mean, I'm literally chopping up the course, and it's like, for me, I gotta hit the ball in the rough. If I'm in the fairway, I can't catch it clean with my irons. Wow. So it's just, I'm a disaster. You know what's I love playing golf tournaments where they play like best ball.
Yes.
Because I'll hit like 4 drives, 5 drives that are just like, oh yeah, we'll take that, But then we all roll to wherever the best drive is and play from there. I can play like a scramble, but I can't hit. Yeah, Ewok says you can't hit your 5-iron. My Texas wedge, no, I can't hit my 5-iron. I've gone out there, by the way, and played with guys who only used a 5-iron. I played a round one time with a guy who used a 5-iron the entire round. That's all he used was a 5-iron. It's amazing. He putted with his 5-iron.
Larry, I got to be honest. Your golf game's like masturbating. I'm glad that you enjoy it, but I don't want to hear about it anymore.
Or that's like my fantasy team.
By the way, let me tell you about something I do want to tell you about. This is an acai bowl from Palmetto Superfoods. Go ahead and use that promo code DBLK15, and you will get 15% off a one-time order at Palmetto Superfoods locations around the Bay Area. This thing is absolutely delicious. It's nutritious. It's good for you. It will leave you satisfied and ready to attack a big day. It's great for breakfast. It's great for dessert. Kids, families, women, children, grown men, old men, young men, everyone, just try it. Try it and you'll like it. Trust Uncle Damon and Uncle Larry. on that one. And thanks so much to our friends at Palmetto Superfood for being a big part of this 49ers Wake Up. 3 episodes almost in the books. We still got plenty of time here today, Larry, to go about, but we need to.
And we'll also scan that coupon code, because Palmetto Superfoods and the great owner of Palmetto Superfoods, Charles, has thrown a bonus to all of the followers of this show. All you got to do is take out your phone and scan that code that we just put on the screen and use the promo code DBLK15, and you'll get 15% off your order at Palmetto Superfoods. And I can't emphasize this enough. There's very few things in life that all I care about is you try it. Just try it. That's all I would say. All I would say to anybody who has yet to have an acai bowl, who's yet to walk into a Palmetto Superfoods, is if you try this, you're going to be a fan. I'd never had an acai bowl until we had one the other day in Burlingame. It was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. It's the kind of thing where when you eat something and you feel great after, that's when you know something. And it tasted great. You know, it's one thing if, hey, do something that's good for you, but it tastes terrible, like kale. My wife's always like, hey, try some kale. I'm like, you could put anything. You could put bacon bits on kale. And I'm like, oh my God, this is awful. Kale, I can't come around to kale. Why? Because it doesn't taste good. The acai bowls are delicious and great for you.
How about this? The reason why I've been at least 30 pounds overweight since I've been around 11 years old is because no, it's the truth. I know who I am. I see the reflection in the bathroom every day. I know what the hell's going on here. And the reason why I've been 30 pounds overweight my entire life is because I want every meal to be satisfying in some way. This is an incredibly satisfying meal that also checks the box of that was good for you. So check it out. Don't let us sell it to you. It will sell it itself to you. Just try one and you'll be in, and we're thrilled to be in business with our friends at Palmetto Superfoods. The San Francisco Giants forget about the San Francisco Giants. They're not in business. The San Francisco 49ers, Larry, is the team that we're talking about here.
Yeah, I suddenly I felt I was going to sleep there. Did you see, by the way, I mean, it has to be mentioned, did you see Yaz forgot how many outs there were last night?
No, did he?
Yes, sack fly to right. Thought there were 3 outs. I've been saying for weeks the Giants have quit on Gabe Kapler. People are like, what? What can you point to? There's nothing they haven't quit. They haven't stopped playing. Mike Yastrzemski in a gotta-have-it game against their hated rivals at Dodger Stadium forgot how many outs there were.
That's not good.
In the inning. Catches the fly ball, guys on third, tags and scores. And oh, my goodness, it looks like Yaz has forgotten how many outs. And I felt bad. Yaz is a good man, too, by the way. He's a good dude. I've talked to him before. He's a very, very good dude. And he walked back to his position. He couldn't believe it. He's shaking his head. He's like, oh, my, I felt for him. I felt for him in that moment, man. Anybody who's ever played even softball, guys forget you forget how many outs there are sometimes.
Right. You do. How many outs there are at the company picnic, much less in right field at Dodger Stadium. So that's bad.
But I mean, still, it kind of shows the Giants mentally and emotionally have shut it down.
Larry, I've known you since, before the millennium. I met you in the late 90s, and our careers have passed, have weaved around each other, have overlapped at some times, have gone separately. We've competed with each other and against each other. We have done it all together as a couple guys in radio. I really want to tell everyone that in the 20 plus years I have worked with you and broadcast with you in any and all capacities, the 29 minutes that you spent deconstructing the San Francisco Giants, which I put up yesterday, you've shared it on your page as well. It's the greatest 29 minutes of your career, Larry Krueger. It was it's sports phone Larry like you loved him. I mean, it was just A plus. I sat there. I said very, very little. There will never be a video on my channel that is 29 minutes long where I say less. You say 95% of everything that was said in there, and it's the best video I'm ever going to put up. Larry, it was like the picture of Michael Jordan taking off from the free throw line. Like, it's an iconic moment in your career, as far as I'm concerned. The Larry Krueger 29-minute rant against the Farhan regime is the best you've ever been. I say that without reservation. It was awesome. As I was editing it, I did it with you, and then I'm editing it and I'm laughing out loud.
It's funny. I put it on last night on the drive home from the stadium. It's midnight, and I'm rolling up the 680, and I get to basically the last 10 last minute or two of it, and I was laughing. I'm laughing at myself. To me, the funniest part of the whole thing was when you brought up, what's it called? Sunday, summer Sunday or something.
Fair.
And I start doing the fair foul thing.
And I'll tell you what, would you give me Larry Bear running up 2nd Street again? Would you give me that? Stop talking about that.
Turn them off. Get them off. Turn this off. People are quitting. People are giving up their tickets. Oh, yeah. I mean, it was. I'll say this. I rip because I love. Well, and there are a lot of Giants people that, are like, really, trying to make sense of it and trying to, take pieces of it. Cause I'm like, Kapler's eating in the dugout. Why is it not? I had somebody send me like pictures on Twitter of all these other people eating in the dugout, and it's not that bad. No, it's symbolic of shutting it down. That's what it is. That's really what it is. There's nothing in and of itself eating in the dugout. Guys do eat in the dugout. But when you're taking out silverware, that's generally the line right there.
All I can tell you, Larry, is that we don't get radio signals up in heaven, but we do get YouTube. And your rant put a smile on my face. It was very much dedicated to me. I felt it. Tate and I were at a Sharks game in Calgary, and I felt it there too. I felt it was like Joe Thornton was with me. We were treated great. We were on the glass. And thank you very much, Larry, for carrying on what I do in spirit.
It was seriously, Ralph was.
I like that, Ralph. That's a very strong Ralph. Craig, you're so cute. You get so angry at the Giants. It's cute. It really is cute, Craig. Angry you get at the Giants. It shows how emotionally invested you are. I was driving back to Marin. I was in the Miata. Tate was in the passenger seat. He had a friend in the back seat. We were driving. We were listening, and it was just, you made me laugh. You made me smile. So much so that when I got home, I called Tommy, and I said, Tommy, I'm going to order the meat cheese. And I did order the meat cheese, and I got the wings. Get the lemon pepper wings. I love Ralph, man. I miss Ralph.
The minestrone is vegetarian. I'm a vegetarian, so I also like gluten-free pasta, and they have that too at Amici. So you go ahead, you get to Amici.
My favorite Ralph of all time was Ralph used to build. He had such a clout at KMBR that he had so much freaking vacation time that he would take it all at the end of the year because he loved his job. He loved to work. So he would leave for Christmas break on like December 2nd because he had so many weeks of vacation. But instead of just dipping out and being like, all right, we'll see, I'm going to take a few weeks of vacation, take it easy, everybody. He insisted on like doing this. Thanks to everybody. Thanks to Tom. Thanks to Bob Agnew. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa. He's like doing this whole thing. And it's like, Ralph, it's December the 3rd, Oh, man. I miss that guy, man. I miss that guy.
22 days ahead of Christmas. Happy Merry Christmas, everybody. No, he really was. He was so special. By the way, I've been Tate is actually following me now on Twitter. Tate is a young, we all remember Tate being a little boy. He's like graduating
college
by now. Yeah, he's in college.
Or he's probably out of college. He's in grad school, probably.
Yeah, so it's amazing how quickly time flies. And Ralph
and I, Tate was born literally a month before my daughter Anna was born, my first of 4 children. And so Ralph and I were going through, even though, he was quite a bit older than me, we were going through having children for the first time at the same time. And we shared that face off. And I remember my wife, would say to, hey, tell him if he needs any advice about, this or diapers or anything. And, so it was a very cool time in history, very cool time to be able to share those years with Ralph. And I loved him, man. I absolutely loved him. We had so many great conversations. He's dropped me messages. Krug, do you have some guy? I know you wager from time to time. I've heard you talk about it on the show. Is there a way you could get me down on the Sixers tonight? You know what I mean? Like, leave me those kinds of messages. I'm like, yeah, I can. I can get you down on the Sixers tonight. And I said, Ralph, let me tell you, my guy pays. He's like, oh, that's great. That's great. But Ralph, my guy collects. And then he's like, "Oh," I'm like, "You gotta freaking pay. If you win, you will get paid. If you lose, he's gonna want his money. So just know that." And he's like, "But nothing was better. Nothing was better than."
Can you imagine if Ralph came back and he was like,
"Wait a minute, gambling's legal now?"
Oh, I know. Ralph would love it. Nothing was better though when Ralph had gone to Disneyland in like 2003 or 4. And I had a week of vacation, and I just happened to mention that we were going to be going to Disneyland. He goes, "Oh, you're going to Disneyland, Krug? Oh my God, are you just there?" And Ralph is just was very intelligent, and he wouldn't do anything without putting everything he had into it. And so he's like, he goes, "I'll leave you a message. I got all kinds of great ideas of how you guys can explore Disneyland. There's 2 parks. You got to get the hopper." And so and he's like telling me all these things. I never had hardly any voicemails on my work voicemail at KMBR, but I go to it and he's like, "I left you a voicemail on your voicemail at work." So I go to it and it's like, "You have 7 messages."
all Ralph.
Like the first one was some random one, but 6 in a row are Ralph. And it's like, "Krug, it's Ralph. How you doing? You got to go to Toontown. And, the Disney princesses are there. The lines are kind of long, but they're kind of cute. And you know what? I met a girl from Fullerton, and she's a Disney princess. She goes by Aurora. Of course, that's not her real name. That's her Disney princess name. But you got to get her. You got to go look for her and, tell her, mention that Ralph was there. And then you got to get to Toontown. And don't go to the Matterhorn when they open because there's always really long lines." Anyway, so I come into work and I'm like, I told Agnew, the boss at the time, I said, "Ralph left me 6 voicemails about Disneyland." And he's like, "You got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me." So I start playing them for Agnew. Agnew's like, "This is great shit. I got to tell Sal." He calls down to Tony Salvador, who's like the boss of KMBR at the time, the market manager. He's like, "Krueger just got a 6-bagger from Barbieri about Disneyland. You got to get your ass down here, Sal." Sal's got like a bad hip and he's walking down the hall. And he sits down. He's like, "Oh, I can't wait to hear this." And he sits down and it's like, "Yeah, Krug, and you got to tune down." He's like, "Oh, yeah." He's like, tune down. Oh, Ralph's a nut. Oh, it was classic. It was a classic KMBR memory.
I love it. I love it, man.
Great moment.
We really did. We got like a couple of the last tickets to Disneyland before the whole thing burnt down. We were there. We saw radio right at the end of its golden age before every single corporation came in and basically ruined everything, and got rid of talented broadcasters like, I don't know, maybe the 2 guys on this show right now. Welcome to this show right now. Damon Bruce, Larry Krueger. It's 49ers Wake Up. It's not just KNBR Memory Lane with Ralph Barbieri impressions, although we could probably do a tremendous amount of business around that show as well. We're here talking about the fact that the 49ers are off to a perfect start to the year, 3-0 with the Arizona Cardinals coming up in 10 days from now, which gives Kyle an awful lot of time to prepare. I know that we were even asked during a post-game show that we were on last night for a minute together, Larry, about, well, what do you think about the Dallas Cowboys? Don't think about the Dallas Cowboys. That's a game away. Focus on the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals, even as they're trying to lose every game to tank for Caleb Williams, always have more for the Niners than the Niners are expecting. The Cardinals always rise to play the Niners. So looking past them is a great way to turn what should be a winnable game into a trap game. And I just think that this team has proven how focused it is early on in the year. They're on a mission. You can feel it. And I like them to handle their business. And then the week after that, yeah, it is a NFC title game level of preview when you think about the fact the Dallas Cowboys are going to be coming to town, but they're going to be coming to town without Trayvon Diggs, who at practice in Dallas yesterday suffered a torn ACL. He's done for the year, so situations change quickly in this league.
The Cardinals, by the way, I did watch their game last week, trying to prepare for this Giants Thursday nighter. And Joshua Dobbs in the first half played really, really well. And then when they brought the house with the blitz, he kind of folded in the second half. But they still have James Conner. James Conner ran for almost 5 yards a carry, ran for over 100 yards against that New York Giants defense. They have the Stanford rookie wide receiver Michael Wilson. They still have Marquise Hollywood Brown. They've got 2 really good tight ends in Zach Ertz and Trey McBride. They've got a burning fast slot receiver in Rondale Moore. The Cardinals are not without talent. They got a phenomenal rookie corner named Keitrell Clark, who played at Louisville, who's real. They've got some players. There's no doubt about it. So that won't be, the Niners should win that game. They should be a double-digit favorite. But it's the NFL, and anything can happen if you don't take care of the football. And that's kind of why, the people that are overly critical of Brock Purdy this morning, it's probably not 100% fair, because really, one of the main jobs is take care of the ball. And Brock Purdy's done an exceptional job for a young quarterback at taking care of the ball. And I kind of think if we are going to peek ahead to Dallas, I think Dallas is a good matchup for the Niners. I really do. Tony Pollard against the Jets last week ran for 2.9 a carry. So Dallas only ran for 3 yards a carry. If you look at the way Dallas ran against the Giants compared to the way the Niners ran against the Giants, it wasn't as good. CeeDee Lamb comes in really hot, but Dallas is a one running back team, and they don't necessarily stop the run all that well. And the 40, even though they have Micah Parsons, if Dallas gets a lead, they've got edge rushers for days and defensive backs that can pick off the ball, even though Diggs is now done for the year. But they got a bunch of guys. A lot of pass rush, a lot of edge rush, and a lot of guys who can pick off passes. So they're going to win blowouts a lot this year. If they get up, they're going to beat you. But the Niners, I think, are a great matchup for the Cowboys, because the Niners can run the football and they can stop the run. And we'll see. The one thing about the matchup last year in the playoffs is Jimmy Ward took out Tony Pollard early. With that slide tackle, knee, it was on borderline dirty. I hate to say it, but he took out Pollard with the knee injury, and Dallas was done at that point. But Dallas doesn't have Dallas is not the Niners. They don't have Elijah Mitchell and J.P. Mason and Ty Davis-Price. And their backup running backs, Rico Dowdell and Deuce Vaughn. They don't have backup running backs. And Pollard is not... he's a guy who should be a receiving back, a complimentary back, but he's their every down back. What really worries me for Dallas is if they can somehow swing a trade for Jonathan Taylor. If somehow Dallas gets Jonathan Taylor, or if Dallas had made a trade with the Rams and got Cam Akers, if Dallas can get another big-time back to go with Tony Pollard, then I'll worry. Until then, I feel pretty good about the matchup. You got to get Parsons blocked, and they've got some playmakers on D. Big Osa is phenomenal, the UCLA kid, up on their defensive line, the tackle. And they get to Marcus Lawrence and Dante Fowler and Dorrance Armstrong. They got a lot of edge rushers. But if you can stay out of passing situations and run the ball on them, which I think the Niners can, I think it's a good matchup, and I think it favors the 49ers. I really do.
Well, they will come into town with a better offensive line, and the Dallas Cowboys have the greatest third-string quarterback of all time, from what I've been told. So you got to worry about that. If they have to get to Trey, my goodness. Obviously, joking around a little bit here. Look, if you're looking for the perfect game to scout the next 2 opponents, Boy, the Cowboys and Cardinals got the perfect game for you this Sunday at 1:25 on Fox. It's Cowboys at Cardinals. The next two up for the Niners are playing against each other this weekend. And Larry, I guess that's how we need to wrap things up here. My back teeth are starting to float. I've drank an entire carafe of coffee. I'm going to eat a now coming to room temperature, not frozen solid acai bowl before I start my 11 o'clock show on Damon Bruce Plus. I know you got a lot coming up today on your channel.
I'm going to be going at 11 today too with the great Jack Hammer. Well, we're gonna go at 10:45 because I got to get out a little early. But the great Jack Hammer, who covers the Niners for the Santa Rosa Press Democrat, is going to stop by on the Krueger show, and we'll chop it up with Jack Hammer.
Looking at some of the games, though, this weekend, Larry, what the nice thing is, I don't like Thursday night football, but boy, does it open up the weekend, and you just get to watch the NFL without having to overly concentrate on the 49ers. So we get to watch it wash over us. There are some really, really interesting games. If I had told you that Falcons and Lions was one of the games of the week in week 3 before the year started, you would have said, nah, there's no way. But I do think that that's a monster game, man. Falcons are trying to go to 3-0. Lions, they got aspirations to be something this year. That is a sneaky second tier of NFC supremacy.
David Montgomery's hurt in that game for the Lions, so it's going to be the rookie from Georgia who's going to get a big part of the Jahmyr Gibbs. It's going to be a Jahmyr Gibbs game for the Lions. I like the Lions to win that game. It's Detroit -3. I think Detroit bounces back from their week 2 loss and gets a win here.
Saints at the Packers. We'll see what Derek Carr, who has looked an awful lot like Derek Carr so far this year, sometimes good, sometimes bad, but the Saints are 2-0. They're at the Packers, who got a really good start out of Jordan Love. Packers fans got to be feeling pretty good about the decision to move on from Aaron Rodgers, seeing what happened to Aaron Rodgers. Broncos Dolphins, that's 2-0 versus 0-2. That's getting interesting only because the pressure is on Sean Payton.
Yeah, Sean Payton's got, he talked a big game about Hackett and how he was going to be better. They're 0-2. And not only that, they're 0-2, losing both of their games at home. And now they got to go into South Florida against the 2-0 Dolphins. Sunday around midday Pacific, Sean Payton could be in a world of hurt. I think the Dolphins win that game. They're a 6.5-point favorite. I think Dolphins go to 3-0. I think the Broncos go to 0-3, and I think things are going to get bad in Denver. Peyton's going to start blaming Russell. Russell, there's going to be a lot of people that are very frustrated there in Denver. They've got weapons. They've got some good defensive players, but they're going to fall to 0-3.
It is the who doesn't want to be 0-3 bowl happening in Minnesota. Vikings and Chargers, both teams are 0-2, so someone's got to come out of that a winner, and the team that comes out of that the loser, I don't want to say your season is over, but your chances of being a playoff team have been reduced to a single-digit percentage for sure. Bills and Commanders, sneaky, better than expected game when you saw the schedule come out. Let's not even talk about Texans Jaguars. There's really nothing to say there. When you get to the evening, that's when things I think get really interesting. I think the Chiefs are going to smoke the Bears. Cowboys, Cardinals, again, it's a look ahead game for Niners fans to keep an eye on. You have Steelers and Raiders that has got
the helmet game.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a really, really good game. I think that's our Sunday nighter, and the Raiders are either going to plant a flag and we might be better than you think we are, or they're going to be overrun by a Steelers team who hasn't come out looking great, but might be better than we think they are after their not so great start. Home
opener for the Raiders in Vegas, and this is the first road game for the Steelers. I'm not sure what to expect there. I kind of think the Raiders may get it done.
Third home game in a row for the Steelers. There's going to be more Steeler fans in Allegiant Stadium than there will be Raiders fans, and that's the deal with the devil that Mark Davis made when he took his team to Las Vegas. We'll never have a home field again. Steelers fans are going to be in Vegas for that one. I've already asked JT the Brick about it, and he's like, yeah, I'm glad that they wear black jerseys too, because he knows that they're about to get invaded in Pittsburgh. And then we got another doubleheader Monday night football game. Eagles Buccaneers, battle of 2-0 versus 2-0. By the way, instead of starting those games at 4:15, they should start at 3:15 our times. They should get those going. I thought I'd love a couple of Monday night football games. I don't. I like being able to concentrate on just one game, but we got a double shot of Monday night football. Eagles Buccaneers, the early game, followed by Rams at the Bengals. And if we really boiled down to where are you in your year as to measured against what your preseason expectations were, there might be no more desperate football team in the NFL than the 0-2 Cincinnati Bengals at home against the Rams. If the Bengals fall to 0-3, you can basically say au revoir, Bengal, before the year even begins, and they're supposed to go to the Super Bowl, for goodness sakes.
I know that's going. Both those games are going to be damn good on Monday night. I mean, the Eagles are 2-0, but they haven't really looked good. Tampa, I think, is maybe one of the most surprising 2-0 teams. Mike Evans has gotten off to an incredible start, and Baker Mayfield has as well. So you know, as I said, I've said many times, it's tough to play in the state of Florida in September. I mean, it's just very humid. It's very difficult. It's always advantage to the home team there. But that one's going to be really interesting. And then Bengals, Rams. I mean, this is McVay against Zach Taylor, his former OC. And the Bengals are 0-2. And I think they're going to go to 0-3. Bengals are a field goal favorite, but I think the Rams are real. And a lot of people saying, oh, the Niners didn't do anything by beating the Rams in week 2. Watch what the Rams do. I think the Rams are real, and I don't think they're awesome or a Super Bowl contender. I think they're thin, but they're going to give teams a huge run every single week, at least until their injuries start to mount. And I like the Rams to win on the road there.
Well, and look, I'm looking forward to seeing the second or the third game out of Puka Nacua, for goodness sakes. This guy's already got 25 catches on the year.
Unstoppable.
He looks like the Samoan Cooper Kupp. So it's an interesting weekend, and the 49ers have already kicked it off with a win, taking care of their business on Thursday night, and what that game might have lacked in aesthetically pleasing football, it makes up for after the fact in the stats that came out of that game. Again, it didn't look like the Niners had a really good offensive game until you peek at the box score. And it didn't look like a dominant night for the Niners defensively until you peek at the box score. And then you realize that game went a lot better for the 49ers than it looked in real time. Offensively, again, they're 30 points once again, setting a franchise record for consecutive games being at 30 points or more going back to last season. The 49ers defense held the Giants to only 150 total yards, marking the fewest amount of yards allowed in a single game by the 49ers since Jimmy Garoppolo's debut in Soldier Field back in December of 2017, pardon me. So this is just an awesome start. And there was enough hand wringing over how close that Rams game might have been that, people have convinced themselves that this isn't a really good. The 49ers should be the number one team in the NFL on every single team's power ranking come Monday morning. That's how good of a start this is. They look like the Super Bowl favorites, and we really haven't even seen them get rolling yet. And that, to me, is sort of what you were talking about last week when, you made the point, Larry. I thought it was a great point when you said, we're obsessed with ceilings. Concentrate on the floor. And I know that you were bringing up Brock Purdy specifically when we were having this conversation, but we're so obsessed with what you might be. Forget about that for a minute. Let's look at what you actually are when things aren't going great. The 49ers are a badass football team when things aren't going great. I wouldn't say things went great, and they had a great win. When it's all said and done, when it comes out in the wash, when you can see it from 35,000 feet in the air and take a look at the whole thing and the conditions of Ayuk not playing and the Giants being desperate and all, you bake everything into the pie. This is a really good 3-0 start. It's the best 3-0 start of any 3-0 start Kyle Shanahan has had. I think they're off to a great start with no injuries to really speak of. And
I want to show you one. I want to show you one picture here. I'm going to share the screen. This is just a still. It's not a video, just a still. And what this is going to illustrate is kind of the greatness of Purdy. This is a Dave Lombardi tweet. And he's pointing out here that this is the touchdown throw to Ronnie Bell. And you can see Bell in the top right corner, he's not even out of his break. and Purdy's got two blitzers in his lap, and he threw that with anticipation to the pylon, and it was a dime. He just drops it right on Ronnie Bell. But it would be normally it'd be an incredible throw anyway, because you're still talking about, a 15-yard throw, a little bit more because it was in the end zone. So let's say 16, 17-yard throw.
Right. When you had McCaffrey running the underneath slant there, so it looks like, the safety that could be the guy who would make life miserable on a throw to the corner of the end zone. He followed McCaffrey to the middle of the field, so Bell had the one-on-one to the corner, and it was a perfectly placed ball. I thought the three best throws, two of them were touchdowns, and the other might have been a touchdown had McCaffrey held on to it. I mean, you had a dime, like you said, to Ronnie Bell in the front corner of the end zone, another dime for Debo's receiving touchdown on the same drive.
Yeah.
He was laying down, looking like he was hurt on the field. He comes right back out of the blue tent and catches a touchdown, so I guess everything's okay in Debo land. And the pass that he threw to McCaffrey that McCaffrey just couldn't come down with was another just he floated it in there. It was perfect. So Purdy, again, if you want to talk about the arm strength that he lacks, go ahead. What he has is accuracy, precision. He can make the back shoulder throw. He can put it in front of a guy. And last night, he was not in his best rhythm. He was behind receivers. George Kittle on the opening drive broke up a mailed-it in interception because he got his big paw out there. He played defense a little bit. It wasn't a very good Purdy game. And on a night where Purdy wasn't, in his A-game bag, he still throws for 310 yards with 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. That's a really good floor, as you were alluding to, Larry. His floor is his strength, not his ceiling.
Yeah, once again, here is. Wait, I'm gonna share this one because this one's really interesting. Look at this one, by the way. This is the play. I thought his best pass of the night. Let's take a look at Brock Purdy's best pass of the night. Came in the second half, and it was the touchdown to Debo Samuel. And you're going to see this here. And this is really, really impressive stuff. Grow the screen here and roll it back, and you can see this for what it is. Okay, here we go.
Pressure. Deep. Caught. Samuel. Touchdown.
Really can't be thrown any better than the way he threw it there. I mean, that was just an absolute perfect pass right there.
Easy. I mean, made it look easy.
And he's done this a few times. So, yeah, I mean, he definitely didn't start fast, but the second half, I mean, we've threw out a bunch of different stats, a bunch of different points in this live stream, and we've gone through this a bunch of different ways. But to me, the one thing that really stands out is Brock Purdy in the second half was 11 of 14 for 153 yards and a touchdown. On 11 of 14.
He's getting blitzed at a near NFL record level of aggressive blitzing. He got blitzed almost on 85% of the passes that he threw last night. The number is rarely seen in football, that a quarterback would be under that much pressure and duress. And Purdy was at his best against some of those blitzing moments by Wink Martindale and the Giants defense. To me, though, the stat of the night, which was shared by our pal John Dickinson during your postgame show last night, of the 310 passing yards, 215 were yards after catch by 49ers skilled position players. This is Debo, McCaffrey, and Kittle, really doing everything that Kyle Shanahan envisions when he's putting up. Critics will say, well, that's only 95 air yards from Purdy, and this points out the fact that my suspicions of him being the guy might be right. Purdy's perfect for this offense. This is what Kyle wants. The star of the show is the system. You run Kyle's system, you're going to win 2 out of every 3 football games that you play. I mean, we're seeing that mathematically bearing itself out over the last 4 years of football. So The system is the star. He's got the right quarterback to execute the system. He's got the perfect skill players for the idea of how he wants to go out and play football. And again, you can't be better than 3-0 after 3 weeks, unless, of course, you're 3-0 and healthy. And that's what the Niners are. They're going to walk into that Arizona game feeling good on their bodies, feeling good and looking good in the standings, and feeling good about that day's opponent, you would think, to go to 4-0. And then the price of poker goes up against the Dallas Cowboys. And then just as we were going over, the problems in the NFL schedule and what it looked like when it came out and what it looks like now, all of a sudden 2 games on the road in Cleveland and in Minnesota look a tad easier than they did. And then the home game against Cincinnati, which was supposed to be a Super Bowl preview in week 8, doesn't really feel like that right now. Now, we'll see what the Bengals come in with. There's a lot of time between now and then for them to get right. And again, the Niners are a couple of injuries away from everything going wrong. That's the balance beam that every single team in this league is walking on. But it's a great start. There's just no doubt about it. This is as good of a 3-0 start as Kyle has had. 13 consecutive regular season games the 49ers have won. It's the longest streak in the NFL, the second longest regular winning streak in franchise history. So,
they're playing well. They're winning games. They're staying healthy. Now they get the extra rest. And onward and upward. I mean, it feels like it's going to be a special year. You got to play them one at a time. That's just the way it goes. But it feels like it's going to be a unique year. And if you're around the team this summer, there's been this like extra resolve to get it done, to win that championship, to get that 6th Lombardi. And they're on track. They're on track for it. So you got to feel good. And Fish and Chips drops in one more super. He says Ralph would have loved an acai bowl.
Let me tell you right now, there's things in here that I'm not even going to try to pronounce. I'm just going to tell you that there's a lot of nutrition. It's delicious. And, it's vegan. And we've decided that we're going to cut a little meat out of our diet. Me and Tate are making better choices as we get older in life. And I can tell you that's dragon fruit on the bottom. This finger, the ring finger, is on the layer right here of the coconut. This finger, your middle finger, which I would have given to Jared Saltalamacchia. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to point out the acai, and on top is all your fun crunchy things, and it's good. It is good for you, and we're on the glass at Calgary. Thank you, Joe Thornton.
Tommy, try it, Tom. Try it.
Larry, it's working with you is so freaking easy. It just demonstrates how bad these radio stations are at creating lineups. How would anyone not want this? This was an outstanding program. I thank everyone for joining us. Thank you again to Palmetto Superfoods for sponsoring us. I've got a show at 11. Larry's coming up here in about another 20 minutes with Jack Hammer on his channel. And when we bring these two channels together, the day after 49ers football games, magic happens at 8 a.m. Join us. It is the new morning show in the Bay Area that is in full assault, take everyone out mode. That's what we're in now. We didn't want to do this, but this is the world they've created. And now they're living in it. They got a problem with me and Larry over here on YouTube. So it's great to be with you once again, partner. You are, again, the San Francisco Giants rant, which is in a video on my, is the greatest 30 minutes maybe of your career. I suggest everyone go and enjoy that. If not today, this weekend, make sure you reserve that to enjoy while you put one in the air and sit around getting high with Larry and Damon talking about what's wrong with the San Francisco Giants. But man, there's nothing wrong with the San Francisco 49ers, and there's nothing wrong with us crushing content here on YouTube. So I salute you, brother. Thank you very much for running everything from your side of the technology. Larry is not only the star, he's the director and producer, along with his son, Kevin Krueger, who made the nice banner, and give loves to Palmetto. Bring up one last time, Larry, bring up the promo code.
The promo code is coming. Wait.
Scan the QR code. You scan the QR code, and it'll bring you to the app that allows you to download the Palmetto Superfood app. You can order through there. You get 15% off. Promo code. Once you scan that QR code, go and enjoy something delicious and healthy for you. Larry, I've said enough. The last word is yours. thank you so much, brother, for not just today and a great show, but everything you've done since I've slipped over here into the digital space. You have been a true friend, and I appreciate you more than words can say.
Well, I'm proud of you, man. You got your channel up and rolling, and you're building momentum. It's getting stronger every day. I want to say thanks to all the people in the chat, all the people who watch this show. Thanks to Charles, the owner of Palmetto Superfoods, and we should probably put their thing back up. Let me just get that back up there. There we go. No, that's not it. Here it is right here. There we go. But thanks to Charles for believing in Damon and I. And join us every morning after 49er football all season long. It's called 49er Wake Up. This was episode number 3 because it is week 3, and we'll be on every morning after 49er football dissecting this thing all season long. Thanks to Palmetto Superfoods and Charles, the owner of Palmetto Superfoods. For Damon Bruce, I'm Larry Krueger. Have a great Friday. Catch me with Jack Hammer. Catch Damon on his channel. And everybody, peace. Have a phenomenal weekend. Go Niners.